just trying to make it. And I'm an island boy. I'ma keep it like an island boy. I'ma keep it like an island boy. I'ma keep it like it's wild. But you better really keep that gun. I'ma keep it like I'm up in the sun. I've been really at your food gazing. I'm like, boy, what you really saying? I told him I would pull up like a super saiyan. I'm trying to be out the greatest. Hey, look, I'm an island boy with my vest on like a Guamama. Yeah. I'ma keep it like an island boy.
All right, welcome along to the Guy and Harley show. My name is Guy Pigden.
And my name is Harley Neville.
And that was Fly Soldier and Kodiak Red, who are twins.
Kodiak Red.
Who are twin rappers who have blown up on social media due to this freestyle. And have now become more successful, popular, and well-known than the two of us have in 20 years in the entertainment business.
Yeah, well, you know what it is, though. It's obviously that song is a little bit catchy if you're listening to it.
It's very, it's a piece of shit, but it's very catchy.
Island boy.
Island boy.
Yeah.
What's it? Island boy. Yeah.
But also, like, what it's really about is you see the video. You've got to see the video to understand it. And the basic, you know, these are two guys who are quite hot, I would assume. You know, like they're in the pool, they've got abs, and of course they've got the tattoos all over their faces, which is not for everybody. It's not for every woman, but there is a certain, there's a certain amount of women out there that do like that badass with a face tattoo look, and especially in this day and age, it's become more and more common. So, you can see why. Basically, they're covered in tattoos. They're hot twins. They're hot twins covered in tattoos with the edgy badness of having tattoos on their faces too.
Who may potentially both be completely white, 100%.
They do appear to be quite white, and yet they do appear to be singing with that sort of Jamaican, accent.
They also drop the N-word multiple times.
Do they?
Some
I
of
didn't
their,
hear
not in
them.
this freestyle, but
Right.
in some of their other stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. That's like, is it Token? The rapper Token, who is who's a white guy, but for all intents and purposes, you look at him and he drops N-bombs and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it's Token, but he says he's half black, and so he can do it. He identifies as black, despite appearing white.
And these guys definitely are identifying as black.
Because of,
though possibly not be.
It's the voice, though. Island boys.
Well, it's also the appropriation of, trap or
well, that's
trap
the same
music.
as Eminem appropriating hip hop. Then,
yeah,
that's the same deal.
Good on him.
Good on him. Yeah. Well,
I guess what you would say about Eminem is that his hip hop was his own style. He wasn't really like, hey, I sound like another rapper. Although he was accused of sounding like Nas in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people that.
But really, he kind of
disagree with that.
He carved his own path, not in the sense of the hip hop itself, but in his style of hip hop was very unique.
Yeah.
This is not very unique, although it is catchy.
Yeah.
Island boy. Anyway, so the internet is divided. 50%. Oh man, who knows? But a large majority think these people are, a waste of space on the planet.
Yeah.
And should execute themselves immediately. Self-execute themselves immediately. And then the other half are like, yeah, it's pretty catchy.
Look, man, they're just
These guys are
smart guys, right?
Labels. Well, that's the thing. I
just a
really
couple of
don't think they're smart guys.
They're probably not, but it doesn't change the fact that they saw opportunities, they created opportunities, they are where they are now.
They bumbled into this extreme level of kind of viral, sensational success through complete chance and circumstance.
I don't know. I think the hair, the tattoos, the twins thing, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the marketing plan, and now it's succeeded. And probably they've actually been putting out videos for a little while before this one. I don't know. Maybe this is their first thing they've ever released.
No, it's not their first thing.
I've heard of Kodiak Red. He's an established rapper, I'm pretty sure. Well, he's already established in that scene, as far as I'm aware. If it's
Kodiak Red, yeah.
Is it Kodiak? I'm sure. Well,
it must be. I have no idea how to say it because I'm.
I thought it was Kodiak Red.
Yep.
And I was under the impression that I had heard that
Fly
name
Soldier.
before. I thought I had heard that name before, so I was like, okay, cool.
You probably have because you're probably a big
face
fan.
Tattoos. Yeah, well, look, I am.
Because this is the type of hip-hop you listen to.
I understand what the kids are doing these days.
You're in touch.
I'm in touch with what the kids are up to.
You know,
so yeah. Look, no, I get it. I understand. We've been through this before on the show. I understand where the people are coming from with this mumble rap. It's the punk rock of the hip hop scene. You might recall me saying it's the punk rock of the hip hop scene.
But don't you
the
think
hair, the tattoos, the absolute disregard for artistry,
the repetition of words over and over again, so they get drilled into your brain, and you have to sing along. Island Boy said about 50 times.
That's all sorts of pop, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm talking about punk and how, these guys show up with their raggedy clothes and their bright coloured hair that stands up on end and their tattoos and their lack of, they're not trying to get that polished Drake sound.
Their lack of awareness.
They're not trying to get that polished Drake sound, just like punk rockers, just like the Sex Pistols weren't trying to get the Beatles sound. The Sex Pistols weren't trying to get the Beatles sound, and likewise, Kodiak Red is not trying to get the Eminem sound.
And Fly Soldier.
Kodiak Red and Fly Soldier.
Hey, I used to listen to a guy called Soulja Boy, and I want to be a rapper. I need a name. So maybe I could use Soldier, but I need a different name than Boy, because Boy is already taken.
Soldier Man.
Soldier Man. No, not going to work.
No.
Maybe, well, I like flying. Fly Soldier. Take off the boy, Fly Soldier. I'm Fly Soldier.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe that's what it is. But to be fair, you can't really. I mean, like, everyone's called Lil something. There's only a finite amount of names in the world.
Soldier Boy also a perfect example of
Lil Nevs. I'm Lil Nevs.
Classic flash in the pan, but incredible success for the briefest amount of time in history before being.
He made his millies, and now he's moved on with his life, and good for him. Now he just lives the dream, presumably.
Well, I'm assuming he spent it all.
Well, probably. You do kind of assume that these like stars, just like waste all their money and then end up in debt with a big, massive tax bill. I wouldn't. If I got rich, I would be so clever with it. I would just set it all up and then just have it paying for me for the rest of my life. But I wouldn't have like, multiple cars and like a cool mansion, and all that shit. I would just have like, a good normal life and do whatever I want and have my money just sitting there making money for me.
I think the problem is, and I'm part of this problem, is once you start earning a certain amount of money, you anticipate always earning that amount of money.
Yeah.
So if you make $1 million or $5 million in a year, you go, sweet, I'm going to make $5 million next year and the year after and so on and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's all right if I spend $4.5 million of my $5 million.
Because I'll get another
another $5 million soon. So it's all good. And Soldier Boy, tell him.
Well, I think that's called something along the lines of lifestyle inflation or cost of life inflation. There's a name for this, where basically the more you get, the more you spend, and that you've got to be aware of it. Maybe it's called lifestyle drift, something like that, where basically, at first you're like used to living, not as a rich person, and then slowly but surely all your expenses get inflated by this drift.
Got to have your flat white every morning.
You got to have well, exactly. I mean, let's be honest. If I was rich, I would not be, making my coffee out of my crappy little cup thing.
Got to have that cafe. Got to have the eggs Benny in the morning.
God, I wish I could afford eggs Benny. Well, one day when one of my videos, when this podcast finally goes viral, shout out to the listeners on the live stream, by the way. We've got a few comments here. Jonathan Parker, are you two gay? No judgment or objection. Thank you for the question, Jonathan. No, I don't identify as gay personally. I believe sexuality is a spectrum and we're all kind of on it, and that, some of us are way down one end of the spectrum and some of us are way down the other, but actually most of us are somewhere in between, in that 98% somewhere. And so that's my opinions on it.
I have a girlfriend, so
yeah,
we are not gay.
Well, he didn't ask if you had a girlfriend. He asked if you were gay. Those
know.
are unrelated things. Lots of gay
Those are
dudes
two
with
different-
girlfriends.
no, look, and if I was gay,
Yeah.
maybe I would also have a pretend girlfriend.
Yeah. To disguise it, if you felt so compelled. Personally, if I was gay, and this is how I know I'm not gay, if I was gay, I would happily talk about it. I think especially in this day and age, but also just with my personality type, I don't imagine I would care too much what you fucking think. You know, like fuck it. So, yeah. Anyway, good question, Jonathan. Thank you. Kef Emsey, shout out to Kef Emsey on the live stream. And Jonathan just needs to go for a piss and a beer, right? He'll be right back. Great podcast, though. So,
Speaking of a piss and a beer,
yeah,
you've gifted.
I pissed into that beer.
And
I've given it to you.
You've given me something, which unfortunately titled Brown Kiwi. Now, if I said to you,
I'm going to go lay a brown kiwi.
yeah, sorry, Harley, I've just got to head back up to
Just gonna have a brown kiwi.
to have a brown kiwi. I
Yeah.
really feel like you wouldn't go, oh, you're gonna have a drink, are you, mate?
Yeah,
You'd be like, oh, well, you're gonna shit one out.
yeah.
And so I'm not sure about the name. I'm not sure about the poo brown coloring.
Yep.
But it's a whiskey blend. It's sort of a what have we got in here? Whiskey,
Lime, soda, look, water. Yep.
and so anyway, it's not too bad. It's not too bad tasting. The name is wrong, but if you look at this labeling and you've been following the podcast and my sort of idea, my theory that you pay a lot of money for fancy labels, you did not pay very much for this.
No. This is well, actually, I think these were quite expensive.
Logic would have dictated
based
on this label.
I bought a 10-pack of these and 2 Red Bulls, and it cost me $33 or $35 or something like that. So it depends how much the Red Bulls were, but yeah, it was a fair whack.
Spirits are always more expensive than beer, though.
Yeah. If anybody would like to buy the drinks on the Guy and Harley podcast, go to patreon.com/pigville and you can become a Patreon supporter for $1 a month. Or you can use the Buy Me a Coffee link, which I'll post down below, and you can buy us the next beers. Or you can go to paypal.com, and use the email address pigvilleproductions@gmail.com. If you buy us the beers for the next episode, we will call you the official sponsor, shout you out, all the rest of it. So
now, speaking of going viral,
yeah.
I've gone viral.
Okay, you've got some health concerns.
I've gone viral.
Yeah.
So I put out a video the other day on the Savage Filmmaker YouTube, which is now, if I just can bring it up, just to bear with me as I go to the thing. So if we're looking at the analytics here, I can't find them. Hold on.
I love it when you, instead of doing your prep and then just wait while I talk, you instead talk them through you not finding what you're looking for.
Here we go. Just having a little look. So we are at 9,587 views.
That's pretty good.
And that is from being out for about 3 days. So that's my current highest performing YouTube video has about 13,500 views. It's been out 6 months. So that is talking about the release of the new Mac laptops.
That's the medium low end of what the Pigville channel gets.
I thought you were going to say low hanging fruit.
No. It's not low hanging fruit. Although
it is low hanging fruit.
It is. It's not an evergreen video.
No.
You know, evergreen videos, they go on. They continually get views for the next however many years, and then you've got the other ones which I forget what they call them, maybe you can remember, but not evergreen videos where they're just kind of flash in the pan ones that you've got to be on the spot with them and ready to rock. And obviously this is a subject that people are interested in at the moment
right now, right this very second. So
what's the film about? What's the tutorial for?
What's happened is there's been a release of the new Mac laptops, the new versions with the M1X chip, and so everyone wants to know about them. Apple did a big announcement about them, talked about them. I did some research. I did some Googling, and I sort of talked about why you might pick which laptop and who might which laptop be good for depending on your requirements and where you might be able to save money if you're looking to buy one of these laptops. And that was really, really successful, which is a little bit depressing, to be honest.
Why?
Because, of course, you want all your videos to do well, but you also want the videos, the effort you put into your videos to be proportionate to the views they get.
And this was an easy one.
It was easy in the sense that, you know, there was no skit. There was not a single fucking joke, which I like to have in my videos. I like to have a little bit of humor, a little bit of entertainment. It was all helpful information. Now, there's nothing wrong with helpful information, but in terms of, you know, what makes me want to do YouTube videos, it's a combination of those three things. So if I'm just doing one of them and it's just me talking, it's the effort is still quite great. I mean, it took me sort of 13 or 14 hours to create that video, but it's, you know, it's just like, look, that's cool, and I'm glad that I've helped a whole bunch of people, and I'm glad that it's boosted my subscribers and things, and it's monetized and everything else, but I would much prefer some of my other videos had that same kind of enthusiasm because, you know, they're more closer to aligning with my trends.
They will. That's the thing. You just got to get that video, you know, that video can take off and then they'll go and check out some of your other vids. And then also like your future vids as well. So your future uploads.
Yes.
And those same uploads have also been, I've started putting them up on a new playlist on the Pigville YouTube channel as well. For our all our old school followers out there. And so the first one of those premieres on Monday. And then there'll be one a week every Monday until one day I catch up with you.
And so the next video on my YouTube channel, which stars you, is also released. And that has got closer to 150 views.
Well, it's a good time to release it though. Like
of course.
While you're hot with the other video.
While people are marginally interested in what I'm saying, you know, put out another one. Now, I am very proud of this particular video.
I haven't seen it.
I think that this is very good. Like, it has everything that I want, where I talk about filmmaking. I talk about, you know, the process, how to get the film look. And then we also do a funny skit around that concept. And you know, that took much longer to create and make, and much less people care. That's YouTube, folks. That's YouTube. That's what I don't like about YouTube. Is there's no necessary relation to the effort that you put in versus the effort you don't put in on a video. The result that may come from it. It's sort of, you know, part of its trends.
It's kind of what I like about it as well, though. You know, you just upload something and you never know if you're going to win lotto. You know, every time you upload, you're potentially winning lotto. Because if it gets picked up, you know, you can potentially make a lot of money from it, or even just make a little bit of money from it, and that's still better than nothing, which is why I really want to monetize the Guy and Harley podcast YouTube channel. So thank you to our listeners on the live stream, because every minute that you guys watch really helps us, because we're aiming for 4,000 hours of watch time, and we're currently around 850. So it is going up. We're on the right track, so thank you for watching on the YouTube live stream. Once we reach that 4K, we can all go back to listening to the edited version on the audio only. If you want.
So to that point, you should probably start, because you've been taking some clips out. You should be making those YouTube shorts.
What's a YouTube short?
Okay. So a YouTube short is this new thing that YouTube are doing, which is essentially more accessible. You can access them in both your regular you know, your YouTube account when you're on your computer, but they're more likely to be browsed on your mobile device. And essentially they have to be under a minute long. They have to be the vertical video phone screen. So they have to be under a minute. You have to hashtag them as YouTube shorts. And essentially they are sort of, I guess, and
you just upload it in the normal place.
Essentially like TikTok. Yes.
You just upload it to your YouTube channel like normal.
As long as you put the hashtag.
YouTube
shorts in the title,
Yeah.
and the hashtag shorts in your description, just to be on the safe side, then it will become a YouTube short, which
Yeah.
will then potentially be accessed by those that are browsing YouTube Shorts, which is essentially like a sort of a TikTok style section of YouTube for the super short form content. But, you know, for example, I teach this in my class, but one of the, like, for example, one guy has a did you know short, and it goes, did you know that in blah, 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 like, did you know that in Star Wars, Mark Hamill was in a car accident, and so they created the Wampa scene to accommodate the scarring on his face. And that's it. That's the short, right? And he'll have a little clip that he's played of the movie, and this did you know, which he's just fucking Wikipedia'd. He's not some film guru. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views.
Who's this?
He's got
just some guy.
His name, I think, is Alex Tensai or some shit.
Right.
Anyway, he's essentially through sort of utilizing the YouTube short format, creating something, because we all like these dumb little did you knows. Like, it's, you know, you can't fault that. You can only fault the fact that there's very little talent involved in doing it.
Okay, but how does that, like, so you're saying that for these 1 minute uploads, instead of uploading them like I am, I should upload them and add that hashtag?
So you could do them both.
So it's the same thing though, right? No, I mean, then the problem with it is, right, that if I'm going to upload it, and you're saying it needs to be portrait instead of landscape. Yeah. And it's like, well, the show's shot on landscape. So we would have to be small on the phone. We would need to be...
So you would have to crop.
I would need to crop, exactly. Yeah. So we'd have a big black bit above us and a big black bit below us, and we'd be in the middle of the cell phone, you know, looking all small and shitty.
Because YouTube Shorts is not, as is evidenced by this did you know, it's not really about the visuals necessarily. It's just about whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if they've heard, you know, if it's just a funny piece of podcast, that's it. You know, it doesn't need to be visually interesting. It can be a little small thing.
Well, lucky, because even if it was full screen, it wouldn't be visually interesting. Well, really. You and me sitting here.
The other thing you could do is just split us in half and actually cut between us.
Yeah. So split us and then cut us.
You essentially crop it.
That's a lot of work, right? So I'm taking this. I'm taking this. I'm down. First, I'm finding this clip. Then I'm taking the clip from Twitch and I'm downloading it from Twitch. Then I'm taking it into my edit program and I'm digitally cutting myself out into and then digitally cutting you out, right, into two separate clips essentially. Yeah. And then cutting between them.
Yeah, you're
for
doing
the entirety of the video.
You're editing,
for the entirety of the video, and then exporting it, and then uploading it to YouTube, and then putting hashtag YouTube Shorts. Or what? Yeah, is that what it is?
Hashtag Shorts.
Shorts. People have been using shorts for years as a tag. It can't be everything with shorts on it. It's got to be YouTube Shorts or something special.
It's hashtag Shorts, but the hashtag Shorts has to be in the title and the description. So that's how YouTube reads it.
What about people that are making videos about shorts, about wearing short pants?
Well, if they'd put hashtag Shorts and it's under a minute, it would become a YouTube short. And it was shot in the vertical format.
I feel like that hashtag mustn't be correct. It must be YouTube Shorts or something. Not shorts.
It's
they can't hijack the hashtag Shorts.
Of course they can.
You know, short films would be pissed off. People who wear shorts will be pissed off.
Short people will be pissed off.
Be annoyed. I'm already annoyed. I'm just hearing about it.
I'm just learning about this.
This appropriation of shorts.
I'm just learning about shorts.
This appropriation of shorts, is offensive to me and my people.
Yeah, hashtag Shorts. But you got to remember that actually normally if you did a hashtag Shorts, it wouldn't matter because A, your video is longer than a minute, and B, it's not in the vertical format. So you'd have to be really stumble across that randomly for those two things to be confused.
Yeah, it is very annoying, this whole how vertical format is kind of a bit of a thing. And
it's very disrespectful to the craft.
It's very disrespectful to the craft, and it's also incredibly inconvenient because you essentially have to film things two ways because, this show, for example, wouldn't work as portrait.
Not really, no.
It would look like shit. We'd have to be right beside each other. And then on YouTube,
shoulder to shoulder,
there'd be a big gap on each side of us.
Shoulder to shoulder.
So yeah, I remember Instagram TV when they first came out. I'm pretty sure they said it had to be portrait, but I feel like they might have changed that now. Maybe they realized it was stupid. I don't know. Shout out to Richard Lambeth on the live stream. He says he's late to the game. Well, don't worry.
Well,
we were late too, so you only missed about 5 minutes.
You missed out on a discussion about
Soldier.
Fly Soldier that you shared with us. So
that was a listener topic, actually. Those lyrics were a listener topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the paper again recently. Following up on my story that I did 3 months ago in the New Zealand Herald about being a first-time home buyer, which was funny because I technically wasn't a first-time home buyer at the time. And now we've done a follow-up 3 months later about being a first-home buyer, in which
you're still not
I'm
a first-time home buyer.
Not a first home buyer. So that's good. But shout out to any of our new listeners, because I got a shout out on air. In the article for the Guy and Harley podcast. It says this: Harley Neville, an Auckland film and TV freelancer and co-host of the Guy and Harley podcast, is a hopeful first-time buyer. He believes he's gonna get there. Disillusionment at high prices and then the disruption of COVID-19 knocked back Neville and his 22-year-old Christchurch-based brother when they began looking for a Dunedin rental to buy in February 2020. But the brothers, who were raised in Dunedin by a single mum on a domestic purposes benefit and have no family money to further boost their $170,000 deposit, will be getting new home loan pre-approval, Neville says. They're now looking at houses in Christchurch Rolleston, which is close to the military camp.
God, what a fucking dump.
Neville's army sapper brother engineer lives.
Poor bastard.
Have you been to Rolleston?
Yes.
I haven't. I've never been there. They don't have firm long-term plans for their future property beyond it being a rent-funded investment that will hopefully grow in value, Neville says. But it's time to get started. I emailed him the other day. Let's get back on with it, I said. Dooby-dooby-doo. But basically, the update is nothing has changed since 3 months ago. But to be fair, I went to Japan. That took up half of that time, pretty much. And then we've been in lockdown for the rest of it, pretty much.
I guess that's a good question. And Richard could probably fill us in on this. But, deals, of course, are closing still, right? From pre-lockdown here in Auckland. But, virtual auctions happening online now, people getting toured like, hey, I'm just going to FaceTime you now. So this is the lounge. Yep. This is the toilet.
Well, they
here
will
you
be.
can see.
Surely.
So what do you guys think? 1.5 million sound good?
Well, what you would do is you would have to send your local friend to go and walk around.
They can look outside. They can look outside and look in through the window, because they can stay outside. You can meet outside. So now you can do outside tours of houses you want to buy here in Auckland.
I'm pretty sure they still can allow a certain amount of people through, surely.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I read something about that. I don't know. Maybe it was outside of Auckland. But yeah, you'd want to trust whoever was holding the camera, because obviously they can just frame out anything that looks like shit.
This is the previous murder scene,
and
which has diminished this property's value quite considerably. But just over here,
some people would pay extra for that.
Sure.
I mean, frankly, the allure of poltergeists. It's too good to turn down. I'd be willing to pay 10,000 more for a haunted house. I'd say if you've got an authentic haunted house, I'll pay you $10,000 more for it. I'm gonna monetize that shit. I'd get it on YouTube. If I had an authentic haunted house, I'd just set up cameras all around the house, right? And if anything is happening, the camera's going to capture it. I'll put that shit on YouTube, or I live stream it on Twitch. I'll be a fucking millionaire.
Well, sure. I mean, look, it really depends on what type of ghosts you're dealing with, though.
I don't believe in ghosts, so it's really not a problem for me. Nothing will happen. But if it did, I'd get rich.
Did we talk about this on the last podcast? The swinging chain?
No.
We didn't talk about that.
I don't think so.
So
you're being haunted?
No. So essentially,
by a swinging chain. But when you're in your house at night, you can hear
the swinging chain.
A swinging chain and a moaning woman.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
In the walls, a moaning woman in the walls.
I don't know anything about that either.
And and then which is obviously the ghost wailing.
A ghostly wail, yes. Yeah. So what's the swinging chain then?
Well, basically, because I'm now a YouTube entrepreneur, and
Now it's been fucking a decade. I've been on YouTube. Pigville has been on YouTube, getting paid for a decade, trying to make this happen, trying to make exactly this happen.
I created the content, mate. If you cannot facilitate the riches,
No, what do you mean?
I gotta give it a go.
Yeah, we were doing it. It was ready to rock. We didn't have any content was the problem. We weren't making any short form content. We were concentrating on a feature. And somebody didn't have enough time or money, they said, at the time.
Well, as I was saying, now that I'm a film entrepreneur, a YouTube film entrepreneur, I like to keep abreast of what's going on in the world of YouTube.
A YouTube film entrepreneur.
And
I'm getting paid for years. Literally thousands of dollars from the Pigville YouTube channel. You never believed me.
So anyway, I followed some guy that they were like, this man is an amazing storyteller. You know, it was like, who do you watch on YouTube? And I can't remember the guy's name, but it was basically like, well, this guy, because he's a phenomenal storyteller. And I was like, oh, I'm interested. Phenomenal storyteller. Okay, let me at this guy. Let me listen to this guy. So I basically what he does is he does deep dives on strange occurrences. And this video, by the way, was like 25 minutes long. And it's about a guy who goes into a mine. And you go, oh, what's going to happen in the mine? You know, like an abandoned mine. And, you're like, okay, yeah. So what's happening? Is there like people down there? Does he find like a group of people down there? Is he haunted by what's happening? And he goes, yeah, so he went to the mine. And then he didn't want to step in the puddles because the puddles could have stagnant water in them. So if you disperse it, chemicals go up. And so he sidestepped the puddles. But then he saw a running stream. So he realized he didn't actually have to sidestep those puddles because if there's running water, then there's not going to be any stagnant chemicals locked in the water. So then he felt safer. So he went a little bit deeper into the mine. And then he turned back and he could just see a light at the end of the thing. And then he can't turn back around. By the way, this whole story took 24 of the 25 minutes. And then he saw a swinging chain. And as we can see here, and they play the chain swinging, and he quickly left. He was a bit disturbed by the swinging chain.
Okay.
Now, what does a swinging chain mean? Was this a hoax, or was this real? Was this a real swinging chain? Or did he swing the chain? Now, a lot of people said that he swung the chain, but, there's no evidence to suggest that he swung the chain, but it was one single chain. Why weren't the other chains swinging? Anyway, that was the YouTube video. And I was like, man, I've sunk a lot of time into this story. It really has a bad payoff.
Yeah.
And I'm quite angry. But the millions of people that watch this aren't. And I'm not sure if I'm disappointed in humanity for not disliking this into oblivion.
So, after this whole story, though, the story is that you watched a boring YouTube video. I thought you were going to tell us a story about a swinging chain in your life. Like you were lying in bed at night and there was a swinging chain that you could hear.
No, I just watched this guy. I didn't think he was very good.
Oh, okay.
I guess I think it just to me was a reflection of how YouTube content becomes quite popular, but really isn't actually content. It's someone talking about a thing that never eventuates, but kind of leading you
they
little
still get paid for it.
Breadcrumbs towards thinking something is going to happen, and then at the end going, nothing really happened, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
And that's YouTube in a nutshell. It's not Mr. Beast, obviously.
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Beast is actually quite a good YouTuber. The most successful YouTuber on YouTube. You seen any Mr. Beast videos?
Don't think so. Or maybe, but don't think so. Can't identify them. Too busy watching Tick and Solving the Money Problem. I'd be too busy watching those two every day. Tick, T-I-K, and Solving the Money Problem. Tick is a historian who does a lot of videos about, well, all of his videos are about World War II. And Solving the Money Problem is an Australian guy who's got rich from property investment, and now he's doing an investing stuff. And he makes like $30,000 to $80,000 a month on YouTube, and his channel is his face, not even particularly well framed, just his face. Like literally, it might actually be from his laptop, but I think he might have a slightly better camera. But it's basically just a webcam. It's about this angle on the laptop angle, and he just sits there and talks and cuts to videos of Tesla and Tesla related things, and Elon Musk videos and stuff. So every day he just records a little piece to camera, and then he edits together the inserts for what he's referencing, and then he puts it on YouTube, and then every month he gets $30,000 to $80,000 just from ad revenue. That's not including affiliate links. That's not including people who sign up to investing through him. If you sign up using my Sharesies link, you get $5 and I get $5. He has that in the description of his one, not Sharesies, other ones, Stake and stuff like that. And so he must actually be getting more than like $100,000 a month with everything. That's all, when it's all said and done, and plus his investments. And so yes, that's what I'm watching. That's what when I'm having my breakfast in the morning, it's Tick or Solving the Money Problem at the moment. Sometimes Economics Explained.
Well, it's easy to solve the money problem, isn't it?
Get more of it.
I was going to say stop spending it.
Stop spending it. Well, that's okay. I don't spend too much of it.
So I was talking to myself.
Oh, right.
So Richard says that the houses are selling as soon as they're listed, as it's as much about the land property and scope for development.
Have you seen Halloween Kills?
Have not seen Halloween Kills yet. Looking forward to seeing that. I've heard some mixed reviews.
I was hoping that you had seen it so that you could talk about it while I pee.
Well, I will say something about the Halloween franchise because it's one of my actually favourite horror franchises, probably only second to Nightmare on Elm Street. And I think what's insane about the Halloween franchise is that we've had the original Halloween, which is still the best Halloween, and it is the sort of the benchmark, but it's also what laid the foundation for everyone nicking a million ideas of horror that you see in every horror film. John Carpenter, one of my favorite directors. So obviously he started the Halloween franchise, and then we had, I think, like 9 or so Halloweens leading up to Halloween Resurrection, I think, with Busta Rhymes, the one with Busta Rhymes anyway, and that kind of killed the franchise again. And then they rebooted Halloween, and then that was the Rob Zombie Halloween, which a lot of us, me included, thought was kind of missing what made Halloween good. So they rebooted Halloween, and they just called it Halloween again. They just fucking called it Halloween, like there was no other Halloweens, even though there was like 9 other Halloweens. They rebooted Halloween with Rob Zombie. He made one Halloween, which was very successful, but to me, I was missing the point. He released another one that was kind of fucking crazy and was 100% missing the point. It was almost like him indulging what he wanted to do in a movie and then just calling it Halloween as well. And then they rebooted Halloween again. So Halloween has been rebooted twice. And then they just called it Halloween again. And they forgot about all Rob Zombie's Halloweens and all the Halloweens except the first Halloween. They said that every single Halloween that so the last like 12 or 11 Halloweens that you've given money to, that you've paid to see in some capacity, they don't exist. You shouldn't have spent your money. It's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's not canon. And they said, from now on, this is the canon Halloween. So our Halloween minus 10 other Halloweens is the canon real Halloween. And this is it. And it's also called Halloween. This is the second time we're just calling a sequel to Halloween, Halloween. And it's rebooting Halloween. And now we've got Halloween Kills, which is the sequel to the second reboot of Halloween. Now the second rebooted Halloween was good. It was a return to form. It had gotten out the
Well, that's what you need sometimes. You got to shake off the
Yeah, but you
rust,
can't
shake off
keep-
the restrictions.
you can't keep
oh, we
calling it
can't do
Halloween.
this. We can't do this because
can't
in episode 18
we can't
he did that.
We can't call it Halloween because there's 2 other movies called Halloween in the same fucking franchise. That's why we can't call it Halloween. But anyway, they call it Halloween. It was pretty damn good. I saw it with our good friend Joss, and we're like, damn, that was pretty good. And now Halloween Kills is just out, and I'm looking forward to it. So what is my favorite Halloween? It has to be the OG original John Carpenter Halloween. I also think Halloween 2 is actually very underrated. And also Halloween 3 for a completely batshit insane Halloween, which has nothing to do with the killer Michael Myers. Season of the Witch is also a great Halloween, which is utterly insane. And then the new second rebooted Halloween is very good. And I haven't seen Halloween Kills yet, but I absolutely will. Yeah, take a shot every time Guy says Halloween.
Do it. That's the Guy and Harley drinking game. I do think we should launch a kind of an official Guy and Harley drinking game where, every time we fight, that's a shot, or every time I have an audition, that's a shot, various other rules. Every time we talk about jab chat, that's another shot or a sip or something like that.
Richard asked, please comment on Halloween 4, which is the return of Michael Myers. I think it's called the return of Michael Myers, because basically what happened is they had Halloween 1 and 2 starring Michael Myers. They killed him twice, and they're like, shit, we've already killed him twice, so we can't bring him back for the third one. So they're like, let's just try something totally random, but call it Halloween, because it's going to take place around Halloween. And it's about these, oh, man, it's a pretty crazy story, but it's to do with a toy company. Look, it's too hard to explain, but there's things called these Lucky Charms. There's no Michael Myers in it whatsoever. There's brainwashing people through the TV. There's like kids putting on masks and then getting their heads collapsed and shit. There's all sorts of madness, right? It's actually really worth a watch for just there's like kind of robot people, I think, if I recall correctly. It's been a little while since I've seen it. All I remember is I was like, where's Michael Myers and why is any of this happening? And why is it called Season of the Witch? Because there's no real witches in it. But anyway, Halloween 4, they bring back Michael Myers. They kind of forget about all the other stuff. It's definitely a good Halloween, Richard. I'm definitely a fan of that Halloween. It was kind of like, it was kind of like a rebooted Halloween before they rebooted Halloween 2 more times.
I pretty much don't watch the 4th sequel to anything.
Well, you're not going to be watching the 12th sequel.
No, I won't be. I don't know if I've seen the first one, to be honest, start to finish. Like, obviously, I know what it is. And
Absolute classic.
Seen bits and pieces of it, but I'm not sure that I've seen it start to finish. But I don't feel like I need to. I don't feel compelled to see that. It seems like, I get it. I got the gist of it. I've seen other movies that are similar. I've seen movies lampooning that movie.
But this was the architect of it all.
That was the architect, yeah. I mean, obviously, you should go back and, explore the roots of all of this stuff. Richard Lambeth on the live stream asks if I got the commercial or not. I mentioned last week that I had an audition and that I was on the shortlist. Well, as it happens, I do have an update about that. My commercial, so they have postponed this commercial until early next year due to COVID. This is the breaking news. My commercial that I was on the shortlist for has been postponed until early next year. But I am still their preferred choice for the role as long as I don't appear in ads for any competing products between now and then. So assuming this ad goes ahead and assuming I don't land an ad for a competing company between now and then, I am theoretically still going to be shooting it in early next year.
They've said you got the role?
No.
Oh.
They said, I am their preferred choice. I am their preferred choice for the role, assuming I don't land anything else. So basically, I've got the role. But, this is showbiz and anything can change at any second. And it does and it will. I mean, to be honest, if it's a Kiwi company and it's a Kiwi ad, then why the fuck wouldn't you just go, hey, why don't we just not shoot this in Auckland? Why don't we just shoot this in Wellington, where the restrictions are way lower? Or better yet, shoot it in the South Island. Why would you postpone the shoot to shoot it next year, if you need the ad now, wouldn't you just go, hey, let's get a local production company in another city to do it? You know, like, and maybe they've signed a contract with an Auckland production company or something. I'm not sure. But either way, it's kind of weird to me that you would postpone the ad shoot rather than move the ad shoot geographically.
Well, you got to move everyone with you.
Well, not really. I mean, there's production companies in Wellington, right? So you're the client, right? You're a client. So we're talking about you as a client. You own a finance company and you want an ad, right? You go, I'm going to do it with this Auckland company. Well, actually, they can't do it until next year. So fuck them. I'm going to do it in Wellington with this other company who will do an equally good job.
Yeah, I've also found out that a sort of a big job that we had coming up, which was to shoot an item of furniture, and sort of like a cool lad like presenting this desk, right, to buy this desk. That's also been postponed at least until next year, if not indefinitely.
Yeah.
Which is a bit disappointing because I thought that was going to be quite a fun one to do.
Yeah.
So, you know, COVID.
Blessed be thy name.
These things happen. That's
It,
maybe what they should put the catchphrase at.
yeah, but maybe
These things happen.
Yes, well, that sucks. And it does also suck that my ad has been postponed because I was looking forward to that money and I was looking forward to that opportunity and just that general boost. Like, all right, yeah, okay, look, 2021's not so bad. I landed 2 ads. But it might be a blessing in disguise because, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I have to wear a dress in this ad. So at least that gives me a couple of months to get back in shape because I can't, obviously I can't hide my hairiness, but I can, change my fatness between now and the ad shoot. If I'm going to be on national TV and I'm going to be hairy as fuck, I might as well be hairy and muscly, right? And in fact, if I'm hairy and muscly, if I'm in good shape, then it might actually be really good for my OnlyFans. So, yeah, so I've got a couple of months to work out now. So I'm looking at the on the bright side, you know. And if I don't lose any weight, I'll just put on that dress anyway and identify as trans slender. Trans slender.
Dad joke number 1 on the podcast in case you're keeping track.
So we'll see how that goes. I'll keep you all posted about that one.
Richard says it's time for Jab Chat.
Okay, it is time for Jab Chat. It is time for Jab Chat. And that works well because I've got some feedback from another listener here, which is, of course, Jamie Oxley, the truck driver who cruises the outback of Australia with nothing but the Guy and Harley podcast in his ears and the occasional kangaroo under the wheels of his big 18-wheeler. Jamie Oxley said that last week Jab Chat was 22 minutes long. Now, Jamie Oxley is the creator of Jab Chat.
He is the architect.
The architect of Jab Chat, our segment where we talk about vaccines and the virus. And he said that, yes, it was 22 minutes last week. And he suggested when he created this event that it should be maximum of 5 minutes.
We went over.
We went 17 minutes over. We don't apologize though, Jamie. I'm sorry. So now
We've got to talk about the important things.
we do. So I guess we'd better open up this week's episode of
Jab Chat.
Nice. Unrehearsed. That worked. Yes, all right, and we're ready. What's the COVID? What are we on about?
A few updates. So
Okay.
first of all, we've now been told that Auckland we're going to go to a traffic light system.
Green light, red light, green light, red light.
So green is for go, red is for whoa, because you can't do shit with the red light going. Basically, look, essentially they're like, look, we're going to move to this traffic light system, which is sort of requires vaccine identification, and most places, if they want to operate, to have vaccine style IDing or sort of scanning in or whatever, and require people to be involved in those. So so if there's sort of surges or if there's more COVID about, if you're all vaxxed up, you can continue to run business as usual. That's kind of the idea, and there's, the different tiers. But they've also said that we have to get a vaccination rate of 90% before we can implement the traffic light system, which should be feasible if we continue on this current trajectory.
Have you explained what the traffic light system is?
No, not really. Okay. I kind of forgot what the different lights mean.
What it means. So green means go. No, so okay, so
I said that.
I have not
Red means
actually.
whoa.
I've not really been
Paying attention.
No, just recently, just this last kind of few days, I was kind of like, oh yeah, right, and I didn't actually watch the announcement or anything like that. But my understanding of it is that basically, not now, but sort of, in the future, when we kind of get our vaccination rates up
to 90%.
there will be green light is a business. So when you're in the green light, that when our society is in green light, that means that vaccinated people and vaccinated businesses can go about their business, perhaps with some restrictions, I'm not sure, but that they, for example, they can have 200 people or something like that in the venue.
Traffic light system at a glance.
Perfect.
Okay. Red. Working from home.
Yeah.
Encouraged. Hospitality, retail, and gatherings allowed for vaccinated.
Yeah.
But with limits.
Yeah.
Similar to level 2.
Yes.
For venues that don't use vaccine certificates, contactless pickup only. For hospitality, gathering limit of 10.
Mm-hmm.
No gyms or hairdressers. Okay. Orange. Close to normal life for the vaccinated, with more masks required and some capacity limits. For venues that don't use vaccine certificates, contactless pickup only. For hospitality, stricter gathering limits, no gyms or hairdressers. Green. Essentially normal life for the vaccinated, with schools, retail, hospitality all open with no limits. For venues that don't use vaccine certificates, some gathering limits similar to level 2.
Yeah. So essentially, any business that is trying to, make money at any level is at a disadvantage
If they're not
vaccinated, if they're not, if they don't have their vaccine certificate. I think this is fucking genius. I think it's a great way to do it. It's a great combination of the carrot and the stick. I'm all for it.
So what are you going to get? The carrot or the stick, brother?
Yeah. Well, I'm all for it. I think it sounds great. It's fucking brilliant. It's fucking genius. Let's get these idiots fucking vaccinated. The
issue is that we have to get up to 90% vaccination rate, which is actually quite difficult. Because especially now that we're at a sort of a 80+% vaccination rate,
we're
left with the stragglers.
We're left with the holdouts.
We're left with the anti-vaxxers.
Yes.
And so we've got to convert 10% of the anti-vaxxers to sort of start putting these measures into place. Because before then, we're actually still in lockdown.
Yeah.
We're at level 3, and we're sort of at level 3 because we're sort of COVID is getting worse. We didn't get rid of it. The cases are increasing, and we're
due to non-compliance. I might
due to non-compliance.
The same fucking people.
You
who are now anti-vaccine.
You laid it out, Harley. People. We all just had to stay at home for 6 weeks, but we just had to get back on Tinder.
Yeah. We
just had to start running. Hulkamania just had to start running wild again.
It's like, oh God, these fucking people, man. I mean, there is a certain satisfaction you can take from the fact that they're the people that we're getting sick mostly. There's a certain, it's horrible to say, but at least it's kind of like, well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right?
That should be the slogan for the red light system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So that's where we're at. But the problem is we've got to wait for this vaccination rate to get up before we can implement this stuff and our freedoms can sort of be increased. And the idea, of course, is that the higher the vaccination rate, the less people that are going to be hospitalized, the diminish of the spread as it's spreading and continues to. We need to put a pin on that as much as we can before we go, all right, COVID, come at me, bro. Well, come at me.
It sounds to me like this red light system means there'll never be a come at me moment because there's never going to be like a freedom day. There's never going to be a day where we're just like, cool, well, and now we're all done, and you unvaccinated people can fucking fend for yourselves.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is there's going to be always just limited and local restrictions, you know? So, for example, around retirement homes, they'll be in level 1, or they'll be in level 2, or, you know, they'll be in level whatever.
Green light.
They'll be in level whatever it happens to be that
Orange.
place is in. Or, yeah, and they'll always have that restriction. And then, yeah, certain businesses, vaccinated, non-vaccinated, there'll be different varying types of restrictions. So there's never going to be a moment when they're just like, cool, all right, cool, well, the floodgates are open. And the reason why is because that would overwhelm the healthcare system. It makes sense, right? So what they're going to do is they've got to, you know, control it and limit it. It's more like, yeah, I don't know, yeah, controlling it in some way, averaging it all out. So yeah,
moderating.
They will be moderating.
So, you know, that's where we're sort of at. So what it means for us, you know, you and I, is that essentially we're not going to be going to do any filming until at least mid-November, realistically.
Well, why mid-November? Why randomly that time?
Because they've said that if essentially, man, you really don't pay attention to the news.
No. I do normally. I'm very up to date with it typically, but then there's just this last kind of few days I've sort of taken a break from it.
So it's like the idea being that for the thing to get to 90%, if everyone kind of keeps going with getting vaccinated,
yeah,
that second vaccination and everyone doing it will be about in the best case scenario will be mid-November. So we can't really, nothing's going to change until mid-November.
Yeah,
in terms of levels.
Yeah. Well, there is still filming going on though at the moment, but it's done outdoors and it's done with some social
unfortunately, Shortland Street is back to work. We've talked about this. Shortland Street is unfortunately
a national treasure.
It's unchanging,
I won't have
unwavering.
you say a bad word about it on this show.
Unwavering in its mediocrity.
I'd like to formally distance myself from the comments
of
one Guy Pigden on episode 221.
Well, I'm distancing myself from Trans Slender, all right? Like, right after that, I'm distancing myself from that. Now, you can distance yourself from me saying Shortland Street kind of fucking sucks. I'm okay with that.
Episode 221 of the Guy and Harley podcast, I formally distance myself. I think Shortland Street's
from my
a national
commentary
treasure.
on Shortland Street.
It's a national treasure, and it's provided so much work for so many people, so many opportunities.
I'm glad it gives people work.
Well, that's the thing. If you were glad, then you wouldn't shit on it, because if you
but
shit on it,
then
sucks. Yeah. That's an opinion, and you're welcome to it. But the problem is, if you say it on a public platform like this, you might affect other people's opinion of Shortland Street, and they might say that Shortland Street sucks. And then Shortland Street,
COVID.
Shortland Street might go out of word.
This idea could spread.
Exactly, it could.
This
idea
concept could spread just because of me being selfish and saying Shortland Street sucks.
Yes, publicly. And so, as a result, aside from the fact that you yourself won't be able to seize opportunities to potentially, you know, advance your career using that show.
That's right.
No,
they could bring me in to make it suck less.
They might also go out of business, in which case, you know, I'm fucked, because my lifelong dream is to
in
be
which
on
case,
Shortland
the most successful production company in New Zealand will have slightly less cash that is already being constantly pumped into it from everything that they pitch on.
Let's hold Richard Lambeth accountable. He says that for this vaccination target,
let's hold him accountable. He's been in Shortland Street.
We have to go.
Now, how do you justify that, Richard? Because it's not very good.
It's good. It's good stuff. All of the actors I respect most have been on Shortland Street.
Look, some of my favourite actors have been on Shortland Street.
Yeah.
And that definitely includes Richard. So, you know.
There you go. So Richard says we have to go from number 42 in the world in terms of vaccination rates. We have to go from number 42 in the world to number 3 before Christmas, which is impossible.
Team of 5 million guys.
I don't understand why he says that. Why do we have to be there before Christmas? And who said this? What is he talking about? But the government will bring us out at 83% on December 12th. Take it to the bank. So
he loves to gamble.
December 12th.
He loves to gamble on when restrictions get lifted
even though he's been horribly wrong on all of the previous
no,
ones.
he was right 100% on the first one.
What did he say?
50-50.
Yeah.
He said we were going to level 3. We were like, no chance. We're staying on level 4. We went to level 3.
Yeah.
But then he was like, hey, we're going back up to level 4. It's confirmed. It's take it to the bank. He said, take it to the bank.
Industry inside.
And I was like, I started taken all my money to the bank.
Yeah.
And then they were like, surprise,
Yeah.
we're staying at level 3 and we're doing some level thing.
Yeah.
So, he has been wrong on occasion. But yes, the issue being that essentially very few countries, that being only 2 other countries, have gotten their vaccination rate up that high.
Yeah.
And therefore the government's expectation
too high.
that we can get there, we being Auckland can get there, is maybe not realistic. So he reckons Christmas. Well, look, we joked, we didn't joke, we speculated on the podcast it's going to be a COVID Christmas.
Yeah.
We did say that as a soothsaying style of thing. I kind of feel like, because I keep chatting, I keep chatting with director of photography friend Isaac, and he keeps being like, I've got all these jobs lined up, and I was like, bro, don't even worry about them jobs, because them jobs ain't coming anytime soon, my friend. Because we are not, we're not so unless, those jobs start happening at this level, which some of them potentially could, just get cozy. Get cozy. Find a night. Look, if I could give you any good advice, Aucklanders, buy a comfortable chair. Steven Spielberg, he said, what's your advice for directing? And he facetiously said, wear comfortable shoes, which is very good advice because you're on your feet all the time. But it's also dumb advice because of all the pearls of wisdom that Steven Spielberg could give a young aspiring director that look up to this maestro. It's fucking stupid. So, and on the same token, I'm saying, find a comfortable chair for COVID. If you're in Auckland, buy yourself a comfortable chair.
Well, I've got better advice. My advice is to buy yourself a webcam and a microphone and figure out how you're going to earn from home for the rest of your life. Because that's basically what needs to happen now. Now, fortunately, you and I have a huge advantage in that we have years of this type of work behind us. And so I feel like, this could be another COVID ladder. It's like we're already prepared. We've got to get on with it a little bit. But overall, we're kind of quite prepared to be doing a lot of at-home events, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're high quality, high production value events. Just look at the quality of this podcast. Did you guys notice the intro at the beginning? That was intense. So speaking of COVID and jab chats,
also it spread. We should just quickly mention, because we talked about putting a border between the North Island and the South Island. Keep it
now
out.
There's one in the South Island.
And guess what? The person that took it to the South Island wasn't vaccinated.
Oh, of course they fucking weren't.
Keep up the good work, team of 5 million.
Dipshit. Honestly, it's the most frustrating thing.
It is frustrating because
get the vaccine. It's not even hard.
If you go, look, I'm traveling around heaps. That's what I do. I travel around heaps. I'm going from the north. I'm going up. I'm going down. I'm in Rotorua. I'm in Blenheim. I'm going all over the show. It's probably a good idea just to do that. No, I'm not good at the moment. It's probably a good idea just to do that because I know that I'm going so many places. So not for me, but for the potential of my extreme travels, maybe that's a good idea. Yeah, no, I'm vax. Unvax that shit.
Well,
fucking unvax it.
We're at an interesting crossroads here on the Guy and Harley podcast because as a result of COVID, it looks like we might have to stop doing this podcast in person. Next week, we might be doing this podcast remotely, live via Zoom from 3 meters away from each other. Through one wall. I will be able to. If there was a window in the wall, I'd be able to wave to him.
I'll be able to hear. I can hear Harley through the wall.
Yeah.
As well as with my headphones over Zoom.
Yeah.
Because that's how close he is to me.
Yes.
But yet we have to.
Now, I'm not sure how much detail we can go into here, but the gist of the situation, and the reason why I bring it up is because you're going to notice it next week anyway.
Yeah, you are going to notice it next week. I mean, you will be a little bit like, what happened? Why are you guys Zooming again?
Yeah. When you're neighbors, when you live under the same roof. Well, we've got to separate the bubbles because somebody within our bubble, within your bubble specifically, needs to cross the border, the COVID border, for her studies. And it's very, very important to her that she does not, get isolated in between, So if there were to be anything happening within this 2-flat bubble that we live in, if any one of us within this bubble were to be infected, then everybody within the bubble would have to lock down and isolate for a certain amount of time, which would mean that she could not cross the border.
Yeah.
And that would be a big problem for her aspirations. And the
Because,
years
you know,
of research she's done to reach this point.
Because that's the key thing, is this research can't be, if this research doesn't get done now, it essentially just doesn't get done or gets postponed a year.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, we'll just do it later, or, you know, like, this
We
is
are talking about your girlfriend,
This
we might
is
as well clarify.
This is seasonal.
Yeah.
It has to happen now. This is the absolute last chance for it to happen.
Yeah.
And it is sort of vital for this research.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this has to be done, which means that she has to cross the border now. And that means that she can't be rubbing up against other...
Well, if the bubble, what it means is if the bubble does get infiltrated by COVID, that all of us will be on lockdown and she's fucked.
Exactly.
Now, that's fine, right? Because our bubble is very small. It's quite a contained bubble. There's not a lot of coming and going around here, and so it's quite a contained bubble. However, as it happens, and this is where the scandal begins, my flatmate, who I love dearly and don't want a bad word spoken about, despite all of my rants that you've heard on this podcast
About people that are unvaccinated.
About unvaccinated people, she is not vaccinated, and she is hesitant to get vaccinated. And her personal choice to not get vaccinated now means that she is more likely than anybody else in this bubble to bring COVID into the bubble. And as a result, we now, in order to protect the potential of your girlfriend to cross the border,
And
we need to separate the bubbles so that you know there's no chance of that. So what that means is, until my flatmate gets vaccinated, this podcast needs to be remote, which is utterly ridiculous because we're through the wall from each other.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that her personal choice
is affecting many other people around her.
Well, not just that, but it actually has this. It's a fact that she's more likely to bring COVID into my household than a vaccinated person. If all of us were vaccinated, your girlfriend wouldn't really have a leg to stand on.
Sound as a pound.
She couldn't really be like, don't interact with Harley, you know, if everybody was vaccinated. But one of us ain't vaccinated. And the fact of the matter is that 96 or 7% of the people who have had COVID in this country were not vaccinated, have had Delta in this country, were not vaccinated. And only 3% that have had Delta were vaccinated. So there's an unnecessary risk here. So I see both sides. I understand what she's saying. You know, I understand what's at stake for her, for your girlfriend having to cross the border and so on. So I understand what's at stake. And I feel like I wish that my flatmate would just get the fucking vaccine, because it'd be kind of...
Make life easier.
It'd make life easier.
For those around her.
Well, and for her.
And I think that's the thing, is that when we talk about it, and you know, the choice, well, it's my choice, my body, all that sort of stuff, and it's like, yeah, it would be your choice if your choice stayed
Didn't
within
affect anybody
if
else.
it stayed within your body. So by making that choice, any problem that is brought about stays within your body, stays within you. Then yeah, of course, more power to you, man.
But there's a global pandemic.
But there is a global pandemic.
A real global
and
pandemic.
there is one of the most...
It's not made up. It's not a joke or a conspiracy.
Most contagious, you know, things, most contagious viruses running wild, Hulkamania style.
Not just that, but what's happening now is the New Zealand government has... They haven't officially announced this, but you can tell that essentially the genie's out of the bottle. They are now frantically preparing for the fact that COVID is going to ravage the unvaccinated, and so they're preparing the medical system, the health system, and basically they've given up on it. So we need to now reach immunity, reach sort of herd immunity, and the way we're going to do that, hopefully, is mostly vaccinations, and partially people developing immunity after catching it. So
And-
some people are going to catch it.
And other measures around the vaccination, such as mask wearing, etc.
Yeah, but I basically now the goal is to get everybody to catch it. But you need to do. Everybody needs to catch it now, but they need to catch it in a way that the healthcare system can handle it. So vaccines mean that the healthcare system doesn't need to deal with it. If your dumbass wants to catch the virus in order to get immunity, then that's fine, but you're going to be a burden on the healthcare system. And so the goal here, though, is that eventually 100% of people have immunity, and that immunity can come around via the fucking painless, easy, and free vaccine, or by risking your life and catching the virus. But eventually, as this, the immunity that comes about from people naturally catching the virus is still good. It might not be as good as the vaccine, but it's still good, right? They've still got it. Or the combination of the vaccine and both, that's the ideal scenario.
I'm not sure. Okay, go on.
So basically that's what's happening now. What's happening now is the New Zealand government is getting as many people vaccinated as possible, and the rest of you are going to catch it. And once you've caught it and fought it off, you'll have some immunity, and we will already have immunity from being vaccinated, and then, it'll basically disappear or basically be kind of manageable. But before we get there, you guys, all you unvaccinated people, need to catch it, or you need to get the vaccine. That's your options, because we're not containing it anymore. We've accepted that it's happening. And then so now you need to, you're either going to catch it or you're going to get vaccinated. Those are your two options. And you can, you might go for ages without catching it, but if it's as contagious as they say it is, and you go to the supermarket sometimes, well, you're pretty fucked. So vaccine or COVID, those are your two options if you're an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's what they're doing now. That's it.
Well, this is
my interpretation of it.
I don't think their goal is herd immunity.
I think it is, yeah, because
no country has ever reached herd immunity. So I think that the discussion around herd immunity is that it's not possible. What has to happen essentially, or at least at this time, what has to happen is the vaccination has to be high enough to avoid...
But that's part of the herd.
No, because you can still catch. It's not an immune vaccination, so you still can catch it with the vaccination.
Yeah, but the fewer,
it's fewer hospital cases,
and you're less likely to catch it as well.
So you're less likely to give it to someone, you're less likely to catch it. But even at 90%, I'm not sure that herd immunity is the end game. I think mitigation of the hospital.
That's part of the process on the way to herd immunity.
But no one has done herd immunity.
I know, but it's going to happen eventually.
Well,
right?
no, that's what they're saying. They're saying it's not going to happen eventually because the virus keeps mutating and the vaccination is not 100% and it's so contagious. So all of those things combined mean that herd immunity...
The mutation thing's a bit of an issue.
Herd immunity was talked about in the beginning and was discussed as for each country, every single country, it was discussed as, so what happens? Where do we get herd immunity? What happens? How many people die if we have herd immunity? But because of the mutations, they're like, well, shit, actually, that if it keeps mutating, there is no herd immunity.
Well, then what? So what I'm saying is that the end game here is we all get the vaccine and the remainder catch the virus and we all have some semblance of immunity, and then what happens is the virus still exists, it's still going to be there, but it becomes endemic, as in it's something that's always there and we kind of we acknowledge it's there, but certain people are more at risk and those around them are immune already, and so it can't spread too far. But what you seem to be saying is that there's no plan. The
plan
what's
is
the end game?
There is no end game because the virus keeps mutating.
No, the end game is we all get herd immunity via vaccines
the end game is mitigation
and catching it. Yes, no, the mitigation is to protect the health system.
Herd immunity is not possible. Herd immunity is impossible.
But it's not.
Mitigation is possible. So mitigation of overwhelming the hospitals, mitigation of death.
Maybe you're misunderstanding what herd immunity means, though.
Herd
immunity means like we're all immune now. No, herd immunity means that if the virus pops up here and he catches it and she catches it, that's okay because he
doesn't give it.
He can't catch it.
We don't. It doesn't.
No, he can't catch it, or he's unlikely to catch it.
It doesn't keep spreading out.
And she's unlikely to catch it. So
Yeah.
therefore, these people who did have it are contained because it can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what herd immunity is. Once you reach a certain percentage of people who can't catch it, the virus can only spread from you.
But because
to him, to
everyone
her, to
can still catch it, whether they have the vaccine or not, they're just less likely to. Then herd immunity is not such a is not necessarily possible, because even if you have minimal COVID, then
but only 3% of people would be passing it. You know, if that in that case, you know what I mean? Like they are mitigating it. They're mitigating it. So I'm wondering if really herd immunity is the word that I shouldn't be using. But herd immunity, by my reckoning, is basically a certain percentage, say for example 90%. That's herd immunity, where you reach the point where that 10% can't hurt anybody anymore. Or they can, but they can only hurt each other. You know, and a few people who are
but they also can hurt people that are vaccinated.
They can hurt everybody. But it's smaller. It's instead of ravaging 80% of the population, it's ravaging 10% of the population. You know, and even less, because it can't get from you who's not vaccinated to her who's not vaccinated, because I'm vaccinated. So, yeah. You learn something new every day here on the Guy and Harley podcast.
Richard's got some interesting, does getting vaccinated help me afford my first home? Great question.
Does it? Is that a good question?
Well, you're the one to answer that. You're a first-time home buyer.
Does vaccinated help me buy or afford my first
Does getting
home?
Vaccinated?
Well, that's from Sikowski Studios, and I would say to Sikowski Studios that yes, the answer is obviously yes. And the reason why is because you can work more once you're vaccinated, and you need money, right? And also, probably there is going to be open homes for if you're looking for a house. You go to an open home, and that open home is only open to people who are vaccinated. So you know, you make more money, and you're actually allowed to attend the open homes.
Jump in there, first time home buyer.
Yeah.
Sikowski Studios. And also, Richard said, Nocturnal said, the best advice that Steven Spielberg got in his career was be nice to his crew. During the film of E.T., he was taken aside by his producer, and I think told this, and it did help his career. Well, that's pretty fucking good advice. But that was given to him. His advice to all of us was wear comfortable shoes. He didn't pass that on, Nocturnal.
Dip Creek.
We're guessing he did.
Dip Creek Productions says Trackside Dunedin. That's one of my former employers. So shout out to my colleague.
Pour one out.
It could be my ex-colleague, could be a colleague, or it could be just somebody that works at the same place that I did. They love the podcast, and let's lock down the South Island. Look, I mean, I get it.
I get it too.
If I was in the South Island, I'd be like, okay, look,
keep
guys,
these fools
this doesn't
out
make
of here.
sense. This doesn't make sense.
Why are we going to take on your problems?
It's a literal virus. You know, emotions aside, let's separate the two islands.
Let's separate emotions aside. Let's separate the islands.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. So I'm all for it. Even as someone who's based in the North Island, I get it. Although I do feel like maybe united we stand, divided we fall. And what I mean by that is, you know, like Scotland, you know, for example, maybe breaking from Britain, right? It sounds like a good idea for Scotland, but also when you look at history, you go, well, hang on a minute. These forces combined every time throughout history, right? You're like, here's this little nation and this little city state and this little that, and they do their own things, and then they combine and they achieve great things. So when you break them back up into their, individual parts, each one of them is weaker than it was before. It's really, it's just working together, right? So if this person, now lock down the South Island, that's fair. But what's the South Island? There's a word that's a good word for when a country, a nation, a state leaves a nation. Anyway, I can't remember the word, but basically this idea that the South Island could politically become a separate nation from the North Island, and that we are essentially separate countries.
Oh, that'd be annoying.
It'd be dumb. It'd be fucking annoying. And also, both of us would be weaker. The
build
North
the
Island
wall,
and the South Island would be weaker.
But build the wall.
We don't need a wall. We've got a gigantic fucking moat between the South Island and the North Island.
Well, that didn't stop someone, did it?
No, well, it didn't, because of all the planes. Because all the planes.
It's interesting because all my family are in the South Island.
Yeah.
But I don't wish lockdown upon anyone. No. I don't want anyone to risk or lose their livelihood, their business to struggle, fall, bankruptcy. I don't want them to be feeling... I don't want anyone, just full stop, to be feeling depressed, to be feeling sort of listless, unable to go and do the thing that they're good at because of lockdown. And if that means that I have to keep doing that and feeling this way for the sake of other people not having to do that, I'm totally okay with that. And in fact, I guess that goes back to the whole vaccination thing, is like, why is it a good idea? Because you don't want other people to be at risk. You don't want other people to be in a situation where you have given them your problem. Now, at the moment, COVID is particularly Auckland's problem. Does it have to be everyone's problem? Or can it just be ours for now? Do we just have to put our problems on everyone else? Or can we say, put the load on our shoulders as we continue on to this lockdown for the next few weeks to / months? COVID Christmas.
Secession is the word. It came to me while I was pissing, but it also is on the live stream here. Sikowski Studios say, yes, the South Island secession movement. Secession. Good word.
Share the load.
Mr. Frodo, we've got to share the load.
I would put you on my back.
All right. Well, so look, I mean, that's probably the end of the jab chat.
Yeah.
We'll keep you guys updated about
the red light,
flatmate.
Red light, green light.
Well, the flatmate is really the most pressing thing, because if my flatmate gets vaccinated, well, okay, cool. Well, life goes on. If it doesn't happen, then we are going to have to start doing this podcast via Zoom, despite sleeping 3 meters from each other
for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when does this significant other go across the border?
2 and a bit weeks.
2 and a bit weeks.
So
it's only an episode or two. And then
next 2 episodes.
Then we'll get back together.
We'll be all right.
Yeah. We can continue our intimate in-person
studio.
Yeah. In-studio affair. In our backyard, there was... Okay, so when we first moved into this place, your partner, shout out to T-Bird.
T-Bird on the live stream, who's probably not listening.
There,
She's actually probably watching Seinfeld reruns at the moment, if I had to make any type of guess.
So T-Bird, there was some guy that showed up and wanted to have a look in the backyard for some scrap metal, because he had heard there was some scrap metal in the backyard.
Okay.
And she let him, because she's not from the ghetto like me. And so she let this guy into our backyard, and he was having a poke about in our backyard looking for, bits of steel, or bits of metal rather, any metal, a scrap metal. And so he had a real. I happened to come out at the same time, and due to my macho, masculine presence,
I thought you were going to say your South Dunedin sense was tingling.
Well, it might have been. It probably was. It's probably why I showed up. And so due to my
Spider-Man style,
due to my presence, he didn't really poke around too long in the backyard. He kind of just had a wee look, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm out," and he left, and that was that. And then I was like, that was weird, but yeah, it's okay. There probably was actually some scrap metal out here, to be fair, because there's a whole bunch of shit in the backyard. And so I minded my business, forgot about it, and then a month or two later, I was in the backyard, and lo and behold, what did I find? But several meters of iron poles, or I think it's not, is it iron? Steel. No, I think it's steel. Steel piping, and I was like, there's quite a lot of this steel here, this steel piping. And so I was like, and I clicked, I was like, oh, this must be what he was looking for. And I was like, well, I don't know much about the scrap metal market. I have scrapped a few things in the past, and I know there's money to be made. If you have some scrap metal, you can make some money out of it. But it kind of got me thinking. I was thinking, well, shit, what if this guy, what is the going rate? Maybe actually this is actually worth something, a decent amount of money. Yeah. So I borrowed a hacksaw from Sifty 150 listener, Bevan Reed. Shout out to Bevan.
That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
5 meters away from me, or whatever it was. I saw him 5 meters away from me at our house.
Yeah.
Outside, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was here. So he came and he borrowed a hacksaw. Sorry, he lent me a hacksaw. And I said to him, hey, man, if you help me with this steel, with this iron, or this fucking steel, I'll give you half the money, whatever it is. And he was like, I don't really reckon there's much value in that, but here's a hacksaw. And you go nuts, Mr. Neville.
Don't rope me into this bullshit.
Don't get me
God's
helping
sake.
out your shit. So what I did was I cut up these things with the assistance of my their assistant. And
Who's that?
Just an assistant.
Just an assistant.
Just an assistant.
What's the assistant doing?
There was an assistant on hand, and she decided to help me hacksaw these pipes. So we hacksawed these pipes.
Yep.
And I broke them up into transportable lengths, and I took them in my car, and I drove 20 minutes to get there. And I was waiting. I was like, man, what are the riches going to be of this? What's it going to be? And the answer is that I got paid a cool $12.20 for my labors.
How long did it take you to cut up the?
I mean, to be fair, not very long.
Under
20
half
minutes, half an hour. Okay. Yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour.
20 minutes to drive there.
20 minutes to drive there.
20 minutes back. So hour trip all told.
You call it an hour's work. Yeah, I'd say you'd call it
$12 an hour.
$12 an hour. $12.20 an hour.
Not bad.
Hey, tax free, but don't tell the tax man. $12.20. And so
your job is not selling scrap.
No, but I made money from selling scrap, and the tax man wants to know about that. It doesn't matter what you did, mate. If you had an income, you've got to pay the tax man. I earned $12.20 for scrapping some metal, and in the ideal world, the tax man would be like, right here, motherfucker, give me that. I need 20% of that. Give me 22 cents or whatever that is. More than that. Anyway, so I also had to give half of that to my offsider.
Shit.
So I gave $5 away. That was $5 salary to my offsider. So I came away with $7.20 minus petrol expenses,
which was about $8 to $9.
Now, I had no idea what the market value of scrap steel was, but I was hoping I might actually get about $30. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, if I get $30 to $50 out of this, then this is worth my time, because I needed to get rid of it in the backyard anyway. It's taking up space. It just needs to be gone, right? And so anyway, I got there. It was 10 cents per kilo for the hard, difficult to cut piping. And I also happened to find a stainless steel kitchen bench underneath the house, which was worth $1.60 per kilo. So basically the $1.60 per kilo and the 10 cents per kilo amounted to a sweet $12.20. And so that was really kind of sort of lucky for me in the end. That I found that stainless steel kitchen bench. Otherwise, I would have gone there for literally $1.60. And it was these pipes. It was these pipes at the very beginning that kind of drew me into it. The kitchen bench was just the last minute. I just poked my head under the house and I was like, is there anything under here? And then boom, there it was. So I actually got very lucky. So yeah. I've got some listener feedback here from 5150 listener, Sam Wheeler. Now, Sam Wheeler says, I'm all caught up on these episodes now. Thanks for the mention in the last show. Shout out to Sam. I just got my second dose of the vaccine today. No adverse reactions. Well, good for you, Sam. I knew you wouldn't. Here is hoping that we can get out of our lockdown bubbles soon. But in the meantime, I have a post-production hell to grind through with his films anyway. With my films anyway. He's making monster effects for his films and with some courses... Making monster effects for my films and some courses at Stan Winston's School of Character Arts, and I'm editing in DaVinci Resolve to see how it performs compared to Avid, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, or Vegas. So this was Sam's feedback there. So good on you, Sam. Thanks for listening, and good to hear you keeping busy during this lockdown as well.
Well, he's a man of many talents, and he's also a guy that can essentially make the most of lockdown. because of his skill set. Now, he also says that he's testing out DaVinci Resolve. I think you're going to be very happy, Sam, because DaVinci Resolve kicks fucking ass. And yeah, I've recently switched over to DaVinci Resolve from Premiere, and I'm very, very, very happy I did. So happy that I'm making a YouTube video about it, which you also started.
Yeah, I did star in that one, yeah. So that's good. If people would like to see these YouTube videos, we might share them on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyandHarley, these new episodes. So this latest one that I'm in, I'll share that on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyandHarley. And so Guy, your favorite is DaVinci Resolve. Is that your new favorite?
For editing.
Is it free?
It is free.
So it's 100% free. You download it. It's 100% free, and it's better than Adobe Premiere.
Yeah, so there's a little caveat to that. There's DaVinci Resolve and there's DaVinci Resolve Studio. DaVinci Resolve Studio costs money or is free if you get a Blackmagic design product. They bundle it with almost every product they sell.
I'm pretty sure that we have a free...
you do. You have
thing.
A free copy of DaVinci Resolve Studio that came with the ATEM Mini.
The Mini, which Will has still got.
Which Will...
Because it's a shame, because I'd quite like to get that.
Should probably
I'd like
get
to be able to
probably got to pick that up.
cameras at the moment.
Been a
Quite nice.
It's a long drive out to his place.
I'm now running the live stream off my laptop instead of Guy's laptop because he sold it.
Sold my laptop.
He sold it. He
sold my laptop like 2 days ago.
He told me yesterday.
Yeah.
He was like, by the way,
heads up, motherfucker.
Heads up, motherfucker. The show's coming off your laptop. So I had to download OBS and all the bits and bobs that go with it and do some tests and all that. So that was good. And so now if I'm running the live stream, which to be frank, I think is sensible, then we need to also get the Blackmagic back, and I'll be able to cut. We'll set up a second camera, and what dream scenario is we've got 3 cameras here, one wide shot, and then 2 singles for when you're talking, when I'm talking. We just sit here, cut, real easy. Real easy. Sit on the 2 mostly, but when you go into a heartfelt rant, Guy, I just cut
about
to you. Just cut to you.
What was that one that went on a rant on? Midnight Mass, that triggered me.
Midnight Masturbator. The sequel,
and then Halloween sort of triggered me a little bit.
Halloweener,
today. Too many Halloweens triggered me a
version.
little bit. Although I am definitely looking forward to new Halloween. But yeah, so DaVinci Resolve is definitely worth your time. The studio version is better than the free version, of course, but you can do most things with the free version. And so, like, if I was an aspiring filmmaker right now, hit that download, boom, and start cutting. And there's basically nothing you can't do on it. So, yep, DaVinci Resolve, very good. Much better than Premiere. Premiere is flawed.
I'm still using Premiere, personally. I'm still using Premiere. I did download DaVinci Resolve. Richard Lambeth.
Come on,
wash
Rich.
your mouth out with soap. Are you saying that Richard Lambeth did not listen to the last episode of the Guy and Harley podcast?
You need to go back, my friend, because
he had a rant.
It
was off the rails.
I spent like 10 minutes dissecting what was bad about that.
He screamed at the end.
I was raving. I was a raving lunatic.
He was a raving madman.
So I highly recommend you
go back and check that out.
Check that out. I don't want to make the regular listeners have to hear me say how much I disliked it again.
Now
I will say that I'm very much in that, like, I would probably assume I'm in the minority. I've been doing a little bit digging, and I've seen like some people that I really like and respect say how much they enjoyed it, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
I watched the trailer because you talked about it. I watched the trailer, and the trailer was on Netflix, was just a scene where a cop walks into what appears to be a janitor's closet and has a conversation with a woman about a poison because a dog has recently been poisoned.
Yep.
And that was the scene that I saw, and that was the trailer.
A lot of conversations.
It looked all right. It looked okay. I was not like, this is bad, but I was also like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to check it out, but it seems okay. And speaking of which, I have continued with The Chair. Shout out to Jason P. Diddy Combs.
Nice one.
On the he listens to the audio only version. That is a possibility
because it is 1 a.m. over there.
We are on Spotify and iTunes and all that, and we do edit this show into a audio only version, which is great for your driving. And that's how Jason P. Diddy Combs tunes in. Shout out to Wazza as well.
I'll also say that a Midnight Mass, Richard as an actor, I would say it's a lot of good actors doing a lot of bad acting. And I think part of that is a lack of chemistry between certain people, and mainly can be attributed to some poor verbose writing.
Well, I haven't seen it.
No,
but I
bad
believe you.
acting in Midnight Mass, Richard.
But the reason why I'm shouting out Jason P. Combs is because of The Chair, which I've also continued to watch. I've also continued to watch The Chair, which he recommended, and I've checked it out, and you said it was good. And now I'm up to like episode 4 or 5, and I'm still like, this is fine, but why do I need to watch it? You know, like because of the Nazi angle. Just because of the Nazi angle. It's like, oh, there's a Nazi angle, so Harley will like it.
Yeah, well, you're a big fan, so yeah.
I'm not a big fan. It's ridiculous. And so, but I do think, obviously, the show is about censorship and woke culture and like somebody getting in big trouble because they're perceived to be a Nazi when in reality they're just talking about Nazism
and teaching and trying to be engaging as they teach, trying to be funny and engaging as they teach.
Yeah. So look, I get all of that as a funny, engaging teacher who teaches people about Nazis.
Which you do. You don't want to be vilified for it.
I don't want to be vilified for it. Exactly.
You don't want to be cancelled.
Yes. Exactly.
Because of your appreciation of Hitler.
It's not an appreciation by any stretch of the imagination. It's a comprehension. It's a comprehension of World War II and
many facets of World War II.
The many facets of it, some of which are interesting and some of which inevitably involve Hitler because he's the main antagonist.
You almost said protagonist then.
In the greatest conflict in history.
You just about said protagonist.
I didn't, because I absolutely see Hitler as the bad guy. Even versus Stalin, I still see him as the bad guy.
That's fair.
They're both bad guys.
But that's a fair assumption to say he's the bad guy of those two.
I don't know. I think
like
Stalin
they're both bad guys.
Yeah, but Stalin might have. If it depends on your definition of bad. But if you want to go by kill count,
you reckon Stalin's got the edge?
I feel like Stalin's got a higher kill count than Hitler.
You heard it here first on the Guy and Harley podcast.
I mean, we need to look into this.
Whoa, big call right there.
I tell you what, before World War II even began, he enacted a 5-year plan which caused hundreds of thousands, millions of people to starve to death because he wanted to modernize Russia. And so he forcibly moved people from farms to cities, and he did all sorts of things that caused millions of deaths at the 5-year plan. And this was before the war even began. So, Hitler really only began killing people kind of, in the build up to the war and then during the war. Stalin was already killing people.
Which, leads to a fascinating point, which I happened to see on Facebook the other day. But a sort of acquaintance of ours, who's also a director and is not originally from here, was like, will everyone please shut the fuck up about New Zealand being a dictatorship? Because we're now asking you to get a jab.
Yeah, the rest of the fucking world.
I am from a dictatorship country where people get stoned and hanged and all manner of horrific things. And for you guys to say because you have to get a vaccination or you're expected to,
you don't even have to.
You're expected to get a vaccination,
be part of the fucking team
with very moderate repercussions. It is insulting to those of us who have lived through that type of oppression for you to talk about it as if it's a fascist dictatorship. And I was like, fucking good on you for fucking calling essentially what is New Zealand privilege, for calling out New Zealand privilege for being like, oh, I don't feel like the vaccination because where does it end? Where does it end? This is a dictatorship now. Where does it end?
It ends at the end of the pandemic, you dumb fuck.
Also, it certainly doesn't end with you getting stoned and hanged. So maybe you should fucking shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was a great message to kind of people to check their fucking privilege over here.
Yeah.
And what you consider to be a not fun time for you is really a fucking very easygoing time compared to what you might be in if you were in a real dictatorship.
Yeah, and the fucking images you're evoking with your dumb rhetoric.
Good, thank you for that, Mazza, who wrote that message.
Yes, shout out to Mazza.
Shout out to Mazza, who does not listen to the podcast, but thank you very much for being a voice of reason and a good perspective in this silliness.
So we're going to transition back out of Jab Chat.
Okay. Yeah. I dipped in there again. Sorry, Jamie, brother. But I had to. I had to do it.
I had to. Liam Hegarty has got some feedback. Liam Hegarty is a long-term listener, one of our oldest. I'm curious to know who our longest-term listener is. Nick Zalati. I haven't heard much from Nick Zalati, but if you're still out there tuning in, Nick, give us a shout-out. Let me know. Jump into my DMs.
Naomi.
I know
Naomi
he's been
Kiwi.
around for a long time. Naomi. I haven't seen Naomi on the live stream.
She's a lapsed fan. So I'm hoping she's coming back.
Yeah.
So I want to give her a shout-out. Naomi, I love you. I hope you're doing well over there in England. And I hope you're listening again, and I hope everything's going well with your new plans. And namaste.
She a yoga teacher or something?
No, I just,
You're a yoga teacher. Yeah. Speaking of yoga, I've started doing my ballet classes again officially at the gym, and I've signed up for a few more classes as well. So I'm getting back in shape. I'm doing it. I'm getting in before this ad, I've got to get all my yoga classes and my ballet classes back in order.
What exercise did you do today?
Today, nothing.
What exercise did you do yesterday?
Ballet class yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I'm
saying.
It
was raining.
I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. I mean, it could have been
a bit windy.
It was windy, yeah.
It was maybe a bit windy.
It was definitely windy. It wasn't rainy. It was an outdoor ballet class. And
you're a brave man to be sort of working under this dictatorship, Harley Neville, and trying to express yourself with ballet at a time like this.
They've got the ballet class has an undercover contingency plan as well. So if it is raining, you go to the other place, which is undercover. It's at Eden Park, actually. So I'll be working out at Eden Park, doing my ballet at Eden Park.
So when you say Eden Park,
I mean literally the Eden Park.
Do you mean inside the
yes,
park?
They let us inside, and there's an undercover car park type area there where you can do it.
I really thought it would be on the because there's like a big car park next to Eden Park.
But it's got to be covered, remember.
Oh, I'm with you.
That's the point, because it's raining.
Okay.
So we do it. So on rainy days, we go to Eden Park, and there, me and the All Blacks perform. Like I perform as an athlete in this hallowed place that and many great athletes have performed before me. But I'll be a ballerina, And so I've been doing that, and that's been good. And I'm booked for 2 or 3 more classes as well, depending on the wait list. But anyway. Liam Hegarty, 5150 listener. He noted last week that there was what you called a deep cut on the show, which was COVID-19. COVID-19. You can't hide. You can't hide COVID. Which was a really an inside joke for us from high school. And Liam, who was a high school friend, says, you guys should do a deep dive into VHS porn trading in the digital age for the internet archaeologists. Lols. So that's easy for me. We're talking about late 90s, early 2000s. Oh no, late 90s. We're talking late 90s, and there was obviously VHS pornography that would need to be dubbed from one tape to another and passed from teenage, adolescent boy to to teenage boy, and so he would like to know a deep dive on the VHS porn trading scene. Now this is an easy one for me because I had nothing to do with the VHS porn black market because my family couldn't afford a VCR. So the only time I ever saw VCR porn was at your house or at Nick's house. I never actually saw any at your house, but at Nick's house, I saw a bit of porn at our friend Nick's house. And I remember one time there was a party and there was we all had to sleep there. And then afterwards there was somebody put some porn on, which was weird because it was 5 adolescent boys just sitting there with boners watching porn. But
giving a director's commentary, except they weren't directors. Yeah. They in fact had never the commentary they were providing was from
that was when I saw Cali 18. So I saw Cali 18, which is what we're referencing here. Cali 18, the porno, the VHS porno instead of COVID-19. Cali 18. That was my only memory of Cali 18 was watching it with a number of my peers in high school after a party. And with our penises away. They were not out. Do you have anything to say about VHS porn trading?
Only that, for me, it was kind of like hatching a scheme with one of my friends. And it was like, hey, in the back of the newspaper, when newspapers were a thing, in the back of the newspapers, there's the classifieds. And in the classifieds, there's advertisements for, like, it's like Trade Me Now. It's insane to think about. But anyway, you'd read a newspaper, you go, oh, that looks like a thing I'd want. Let me call up this person on the landline and see if they're in and see if they're interested in selling that lawnmower to me. The things we did. Anyway,
pre-digital age,
analog age. In the back of the newspaper was like adult films. Order an adult film for like $15 or $20 on VHS, discreetly sent to your house, sort of thing. And it was basically like a classified ad. And so my friend was like, "Well, we're getting it sent to our house, so we don't have to provide we're 14." We don't have to provide ID because we're ordering it. What are they going to do? We're just going to order it. They're going to send it. Yeah. And I don't even know if there's any way for them to like...
So you ordered some VHS porn when you were 14.
So essentially we were like, okay, we've got, this much, we've got enough money for 2 or 3 of these things. Maybe it was 3 for something. So what happens if we just order it? And we weren't even ordering it. Like what we were thinking is that this plan would go awry, as in they'd go, oh well, we're going to need some identification. We're going to need to
call you, and you go, hello, yes, this is Mr. Pigden.
Yes, I am 18.
I am 18 years old, and I am Mr. Pigden.
Well, yes, I am the master of the house. What can I do for you? Is this about the porn I just ordered? In which case, yes, please, yes,
send it on through.
Yes, thank you very much.
You can send it through, sir.
So the idea, but we were kind of thinking that at some point they'd be like, look, we know that you're a 14-year-old kid trying to order porn off this thing. But that never happened. What happened is I think we filled out a thing and sent some money. Yeah. And then we got like porno. 3 of these VHSs back. And we were like, what in the flying hell is this? Yeah.
Get out of my way!
We couldn't believe it.
Did you watch it and jerk off together? Or did you take turns?
So we got it. We're like, okay, we got to watch this. We watched it. Yeah. And this is again...
The whole thing from start to finish?
No. So this is the thing. Like, because this is the first time that I had seen these shenanigans going on, Yeah.
You're like, holy crap, this is disgusting.
Yeah. And what you don't realize about porn to a 13 or 14-year-old boy is they're not going to look at that and go, well, I guess it depends what 14-year-old boy, but you're not necessarily going to be like, this is the greatest thing ever. You're going to be like, this is really graphic.
This is making my pants feel weird.
And so anyway, so we were like, holy shit. And we were like, holy, and we kind of just, we turned it off. We weren't like, this is amazing. Yeah. We were like, oh, this is actually kind of disturbing. Is this what sex is? Yeah. Because I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah. And so those thin tapes kind of sat around not being utilized. And then it was like, I don't know, at some point those tapes went out into the wild and into our circle of friends.
Are you telling me that you were the one that ordered Kelly 18?
Yeah.
You were the owner.
I'm the architect.
You were the architect. You're the owner of Kelly 18? I didn't know that.
I'll take that back.
I didn't know that.
I'll take that back. It wasn't just me. I actually didn't think of the plan.
Because I remember Debbie Does Dallas. I remember Debbie Does Dallas.
It was Mark and me that hatched this plan. And to be fair, it was probably Mark that really...
He was a little bit older too.
Yeah, he was older. So
he was like, yeah, bro, this is really disgusting. Give those to me.
Yeah, so he was the one that sort of...
Okay. But so nevertheless, in terms of the troops, which was the name for our friends, you were the person that introduced
the classics,
Kelly 18
Debbie
and
Does
Debbie Does Dallas into the group.
Yeah.
That really, that is a surprise to me. And like, obviously I've known you for a lot of years. And so it's refreshing to find out something new about you.
Of course.
And so I did not know that you were the person behind all of that. That seems like something I would do. And it seems like something you wouldn't do. Well, and yet,
but that's the thing.
Here we are.
That's the very reason that it was in circulation.
Yeah,
is because I didn't care. I was like, yeah, these porns are pretty pretty gruesome, bro. And then
Yeah.
everyone was like,
Kelly 18, Kelly 18, you can't hide. You can't hide, Kelly.
Everyone was like, thank you for this gift.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, really?
Yeah. And so did they all dub it, did they? Presumably they dubbed it. Somebody dubbed it.
I'm assuming
the old VHS to VHS.
I'm assuming that some dubs were made,
Yeah.
but also those two actual originals were floating about.
See, Kelly 18 I didn't see very much of, but I did see all of Debbie Does Dallas. Again, probably at Nick's house.
Oh, Mr. Hardwick.
Oh, Mr. Hardwick.
Um,
That's
classics.
right. Oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. So thank you for the listener topic.
Trip down
Ian
memory
Higgity.
lane.
Now, you might recall that last week I said that I had submitted no caller ID to the film online. It's not really a film festival. It's a platform where you send your film to die. It's called Short of the Week. And once you've finished your festival run
Once
with
your
your
film's
film,
been out for 5 years,
you can incorporate Short of the Week. And I do think this is a good idea, legitimately. You can incorporate Short of the Week into your festival strategy. So you've got a film, you put it into a bunch of festivals. Once it's finished its festivals and it doesn't need to be exclusive anymore, you can upload it to YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you might as well submit it to Short of the Week. And if they get it, they will, put it on their platform. If they accept it, they'll put it on their platform and it'll get potentially a lot of views and be seen by a lot of people. So it is, worth doing. And it'll generate buzz and all the rest of it. So Short of the Week, you should put your film there. However, last week, I submitted no caller ID to Short of the Week because I had interviewed one of the main people at Short of the Week on a show the week beforehand.
and as we know,
So I felt like I had
submissions to festivals have nothing to do with quality, but all about who you know.
all about who you know. Exactly, right? And so I had interviewed this person on a show, and so I thought, well, I should submit to Short of the Week because A, we've got a great film, and they don't care that it's already online, and B, I've made a personal connection with somebody that works there, so therefore, by my logic, I've probably got a slightly better chance. Even if they won't give me a special treatment, what they might do is they might actually look at it, they might actually sort of pay attention to it really, with a fresh eye because they know me as a person. So they might go, okay, you know what? I'm going to actually, really pay attention to this and decide if it should get in. Well, guess what? It didn't fucking get in. So
Fuck, you pulled a YouTube on me.
you see,
the
guys,
swinging chain.
the swinging chain. And
Was
so
it
you
a ghost? We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Guess what? It didn't get in.
And guess what? That's not how film festivals work. It doesn't matter if you know somebody. And so,
You just weren't good enough friends, mate.
or the film wasn't good enough in their opinion.
Nah.
And so either way, it did not get in. And so that was a complete fucking waste of $29.99 US dollars. So $29.99 USD, which is about 45 New Zealand pesos. I'd say that's roughly 45 New Zealand pesos.
Film festivals.
Completely
always stealing money
gone.
from.
Well, this one's not really a film festival as far as I can.
even worse.
Because it's not a competition. It's just a place to put your film. It's a platform for your film.
Yeah.
That's online when your festival's finished. And so
You paid them.
I paid them $29.99 US dollars, 45 New Zealand pesos.
So think about that as an hourly rate because the film is, 10 minutes?
Isn't it? It's either 8 or 12. I can't remember.
So
8. It must be 8. I think it's 8.
So that's a decent hourly rate to watch your film. And
Yeah.
It didn't take an hour.
Well, the thing is, though, right, that you're forgetting, you're ignoring all the overheads associated with running a website, paying staff members, and all that stuff. But look, the point is that this $29.99 was paid for by our Patreon supporters. So thank you very much to those Patreon supporters, and I'm sorry for wasting your money. But I used the Pigville Productions PayPal account to pay for submissions and other things like that. And that $29.99 came directly from our Patreon supporters. So thank you very much to our Patreon supporters. A shout out to you. You guys are also the ones who pay for the monthly hosting of the Guy and Harley podcast. So if you ever feel sad, just remember, you are the reason this podcast exists. So thank you very much to our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/Pigville. What else you got?
Well, we should wrap things up, but I did want to talk very briefly about the Resident Evil trailer.
Okay, that's great. because we do have another big topic, which is Alec Baldwin.
Oh, yeah, we've got to talk about that.
But you can talk about the Resident Evil trailer for a second. Do you need another beer?
Yeah.
All right, I'll bring you a beer.
So, essentially what's happened is there's been, I think, 6 Resident Evil movies, right? Maybe 7. Maybe fucking 7. And the first one is okay. The rest are progressively sillier. And then some kind of get real silly, and then they dial back the silliness a little bit for the next. And then they go, okay, we dial back the silliness on this particular Resident Evil, so we can really ramp up the silliness in the sequel. Resident Evil was, of course, based off the classic video game Resident Evil. So they've made an entire franchise out of Resident Evil, right? So what are they going to do? They've milked Resident Evil for all it's worth, so they've decided to do a reboot of Resident Evil. And guess what they're calling it? Resident Evil again. It's the Halloween thing all over again. There's a Halloween reboot, and there's a reboot of the Halloween called Halloween. There's a Resident Evil. There's 7 of those Resident Evil. Now they're just going to call the Resident Evil Resident Evil. What makes this Resident Evil even more confusing is that the Resident Evil is based off Resident Evil 2, the game. Process that. This is the 8th Resident Evil, but it's called Resident Evil based off Resident Evil 2. Anyway, the whole thing about this new Resident Evil, because I always dreamt that when I became a successful director, which would have been happening approximately 7 to 8 years ago now, but whenever I was making films in Hollywood, 7 to 8 years ago that I had scheduled, one of the things that I always wanted to do was do a Resident Evil reboot, which was to make Resident Evil the way Resident Evil the game was meant to be. Survival horror. So as in a scary horror movie. The problem with the Resident Evil movies...
Is they're dumb action.
Is they're dumb, super dumb action movies.
And they have heaps of liberties which are nothing to do with the game.
With not a hint of a single scare.
Such a fuck up. I never understood how somebody could take such great original content...
Source material.
And then fuck it up. I never really understood how people could do that so drastically, and yet they were financially rewarded. So
time and time
from
again,
their perspective,
it
was not a fuck up.
I kept going seeing those Resident Evils.
Yeah,
despite knowing that each one would only bring me pain and anguish.
Oh no, I had to give up after a while.
Yeah.
When she jumped up and bounced off the wall and kicked a zombie dog.
That was the first Resident Evil,
and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm out." I've had enough. This is fucking dumb. You can't do that in Resident Evil. In Resident Evil,
there's no
nobody's
Matrix.
superhuman.
There's no Matrix in Resident Evil.
The heroes of Resident Evil 1 are not superhuman in any way.
Well,
they're just normal people.
What about Wesker?
Well, he's a bit superhumanish. He's a superhuman villain. But like, you know, the main characters, the people who you play, they're not jumping up and kicking off walls.
Not jumping off a wall and kicking a zombie dog.
Can you imagine if I was in a fight and then I ran to the nearest wall and then kicked it and then bounced off that wall and kicked my enemy in the face? Can you imagine that happening? I would look so ridiculous. I'd run up and do a pathetic little kick on the wall.
Well, no, you'd fall over.
That'd be way over there.
You'd fall over. You'd try and get up the wall. You'd fall straight down.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're making a Resident Evil reboot. They've released the trailer. And the thing is, with this Resident Evil, they're like, we're going back to the source. We're going back to the roots. We're going to make it that survival horror Resident Evil that you all know and love. And I was like, motherfuckers.
So is there a new movie coming out?
Yeah.
But it's a reboot. Oh, I don't feel like I've seen this.
Yeah, so I was like, motherfuckers. They've done exactly what I wanted to do with the Resident Evil franchise, and yet I have not become successful enough to do it myself. So they've hired someone else to do this. My dream, another dream, crushed. And anyway, but then I watched the trailer.
You're like, no,
which is based around Resident Evil 2, where they go into the police precinct.
Yeah.
And
Raccoon City.
They're in Raccoon City. And it looks actually like a lot of dumb action.
Yeah.
That's not particularly scary. It's not survival horror style. And they've kind of just repeated the same fucking mistake that this last 7 Resident Evils had. They Resident Evil movied the reboot of the Resident Evil movie, also called Resident Evil, based off Resident Evil 2, the game. Anyway, it looks pretty terrible.
What about June?
I have actually had the pleasure of watching June.
How can I watch it?
We'll have a chat about that after the podcast.
There are many that some might consider to be unnatural.
Yeah, there are many ways to watch June, which some might anyway
consider to be unnatural.
So
that's how I did it, right?
Yeah. So
unnatural.
So this is the problem with June, right? June.
Oh, wait. I tell you goddamn what, there better not be any spoilers or any even indication of general story outline. I don't give a shit. I don't want to know. I'm going to watch it. I don't want to know anything about story outlines. I don't want to know anything about characters. Yeah. I don't want to know a thing. I like if you say it's good or bad. That's fine. That's fine.
I got bad news.
I don't want to hear anything else.
I got bad news.
Because I'm going to watch it.
I've got bad news.
Well,
I've got bad news. Because you've already read the book.
No, I haven't read the book.
Oh, okay.
What I did was I was a big fan. Big fan. In fact, this is
fan of the Wikipedia article about the book.
About the movie. No, this is one of the games that shaped my life. There are certain games that I would say shaped, my existence. Mortal Kombat is a game that jumps out. I've been like, okay, this has really opened new ideas to me. June 2, Final Fantasy 7. But June 2 was the one that I wanted to talk about, which is my first introduction to Arrakis, and it was an excellent game, and it really spawned a lifelong love of real-time strategy games. And it all came from June 2, which Command & Conquer Red Alert and Command & Conquer in general is basically a knockoff of June 2. And so I was familiar with the world and loved it dearly. And then when I checked out the first movie or one of the earlier movies, I was like, oh, this is really not very enjoyable. And then so now I'm quite excited to see the real June while we've got the CGI abilities.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration.
I've read this before.
I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me.
See.
And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
Oh. And is that a quote from June?
Yes.
Because I've read that quote before and thought it was great, but I didn't realize it was from June.
Yes. So I used to say that to myself when I got nervous about getting on planes.
Well,
Whatever usage you find.
That's a cute story.
So anyway, that is a quote from June, and I have watched June, and you haven't read the book, but you are kind of familiar with the lore of June.
I'm absolutely familiar with it.
So
because I played several of the June
watching June
games.
Watching June, and
June 2 was the only good one.
What I was reminded of is that good books really make good movies. It's a rare merging of two different...
Rare. It's rare. It's uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. And so that's what I was reminded of, because I was like, this is a really good book.
I've heard good things.
This is a really, really good book, but this is not really a good movie.
When did you read the book?
I've read it a couple of times, and the last time I read it was probably quite a long time ago, at least over a decade ago. I've read it.
Do you own it?
And I've read a couple of the sequels, but not all of them.
Do you own it?
I do, but it's at my parents' house. So I read the book. I love the book. I read the sequels. I enjoyed the sequels to the book. I watched the original movie starring the tantric sex maestro Sting. Not Sting the wrestler, the tantric sex maestro Sting the singer, which I thought was a bit okay. And so anyway, I was excited about this June, but I guess what I remembered when I watched the movie, which is quite a faithful adaptation of a portion of the book, was that when you kind of read something and picture it in your head, it seems really cool. when you see that same thing and actors saying it in a movie, you go, this seems a bit dumb. When I look at it in this visual tapestry that's been weaved for me with these actors saying these lines, it really doesn't work the same way it does in my head. And there's definitely a lot of examples of where you go, like Ender's Game is another good example of that, where it's like a fantastic book, but you see the movie and they tried to get the good ideas in the movie, but when you see them represented like that, it's just not right. And to me, this just belongs in book form.
But the thing about Ender's Game, right, is that the filmmakers chose to create a PG movie out of what could have been an R18 story, you know, or like R16 story, you know, and it's like it could have been a Game of Thrones, you know, violent, kill, cruel type story. And when you read it, that is how it kind of is and kind of can be, you know, like it's quite a ruthless story. And then they made this shitty PG version of it and called it the film, and it was like, okay, cool. So who's this supposed to appeal to? Under 12s, you know, like what is this movie for? It wasn't grown up enough.
But your constant push.
Tomorrow when the war began.
God.
Okay, Tomorrow When the War Began. Have you read those books?
I have read the first one, I believe.
I read the Tomorrow When the War Began series, and I thought it was great. It was really interesting. It's about it's a group of Australian teenagers who go away camping for the weekend, and when they while they're away in the middle of nowhere, kind of in the outback somewhere, the entire country is taken over by a foreign nation, and then when they come out of the wild, they turn into basically partisans, fighting against this enemy occupation, and it's quite cool, and it's like people die and things happen, and it's quite interesting, and then they made a series out of it.
Teens are freedom fighters,
and it looked like fucking. Home and Away. It looked like Home and Away. Everyone was super beautiful.
I believe it was,
and everything was perfect.
May have even been starring people that were on Home and Away.
Home and Away people, and everybody was perfect, and the lighting was perfect, and everything was just fucking dandy. And so, it wasn't a remake of Red Dawn. It was a remake of Home and Away. It was Home and Away. It was Home and Away meets Red Dawn, right? And so. But the books were good, and the source material was good. And when you read a book, it's like you say somebody dies, you go and you imagine that person dying, and it's up to your imagination to picture it. But when they make a movie version of it, and that person dies, and you give us a PG-13 version of that person's death, it makes you go, I'm watching a kid's shit. This is fucking dumb.
Very underwhelming, June. Also,
I'm going to watch it, though.
They really... Where they choose,
even though it's 13 hours long.
Well, that's the craziest thing. They choose to end it in a certain place, which is
wait. We're literally talking about the ending now.
No, we're not.
I don't want to hear a thing about it.
No.
I don't understand what's going on.
We choose to.
I've only seen the trailer.
In a certain place, which is not at the end of the book.
Oh, you better tread carefully.
And
this is a sci-fi.
It's really just a.
It's 12. When
a very flaccid.
11.
A very flaccid. Thing where you're like,
right,
wait,
so you didn't like
where's
the
well, that's it?
Yeah, you didn't like the ending.
No, I didn't like the whole thing because but it looks cool.
Well, all right, good.
Also,
let's leave it at that. I don't want to look. It's very important to me that I don't have any preconceived ideas when I go into watching this movie. I don't want to know about
I'm going to give you another one.
Well, don't give me another one. I don't want to know about it. So, what are you doing?
It stars one of the stars is Jason Momoa. Of Aquaman fame.
I've seen the trailer.
Now, what is hilarious, and my girlfriend pointed this out, T-Bird pointed this out as well, is she's like, wow, he looks terrible without a beard. He looks kind of like a fat, dough-faced dipshit. And some people just need a beard or facial hair.
Well, I can see two of them right now on the foldback monitor here.
To frame their sort of thing, because she was like, he should never, ever, ever be clean shaven in a movie again. And at first I was like, I feel like you're being a little bit harsh on old Jason Momoa. And then I had another look and I was like, you know what? You're right. This man must have a beard in everything he does. Because his fat face just ain't going to cut it.
Well, that's inspiring. And I can picture, there's us two right now without beards would not look good.
I'd agree with that.
That would be an unpleasant sight for all involved.
If you want to see that, watch the new skit.
Or just look at our latest thumbnail.
Yeah.
The thumbnails I'm using for this, in which I'm clean shaven, and our latest skit as well. All right, so Alec Baldwin. So obviously, this is a hot topic at the moment. This is not an evergreen topic. Alec Baldwin, on a film set, used a prop gun, pulled the trigger. It was handed to him. He believed it was safe. It was handed to him. He was told to use it. He pulled the trigger, and there was some sort of actual projectile in the gun.
Yep.
Details yet to emerge. And
there was a bullet in the gun.
The
now
gun,
what they're saying.
It's officially a bullet. There was literally okay.
So it wasn't a blank.
And so it was, and it was the props masters or the someone or other's daughter that brought it on set for target practice out in the desert before the shoot, and at some point somehow it got mixed up. This is the latest thing I heard.
Right.
And then this gun made its way onto set somehow.
They were rehearsing a scene.
Yes, and he then pulled the trigger, shot the director of photography, and it also hurt the director.
So shot and killed the director of photography.
Yeah.
And critically injured the director.
Yeah.
So essentially what happened was Alec Baldwin was rehearsing the scene. They were both looking over the camera. In the scene, he had to pull the gun out. He rehearsed it once he pulled the gun out. All good. They're like, okay, adjust the shot, adjust the framing. He pulled the gun out the second time. As he pulled the gun out the second time, this live round went off, pierced through the shoulder of the director of photography, went through the director of photography, and also into the director. The director of photographer sadly passed away, and the director was rushed to hospital in critical condition. And what has sort of come out after the fact, I mean, many things have come out after the fact. It's still not 100% clear. We're talking about it as it, just happened 2 days ago. But it was a live round. It had already been said essentially that it was a cold gun, as in there's nothing in it. It's safe. There's nothing in it. Here you go. Cold gun on set. Here you go. Hand off. Cold gun. There was something in it. And that's what killed them and killed the director of photography on this new film called Rust, starring Alec Baldwin. And, it's a huge tragedy. It's one of these very unfortunate tragic events that happen on film set. And it's sort of the second time this has happened, being the first or the most notable being Brandon Lee's passing away exactly in a very similar scenario on the set of The Crow.
And do you understand what happened to him? Because I didn't look too much in depth, but my understanding of it was there was a round stuck in the barrel. It was a real gun, and there was a round stuck in the barrel or something already. And then basically they put a blank in, and then this blank fires and shoots the real round, which was trapped in the barrel, out because it had been fired and somebody hadn't checked it properly.
That's Brandon Lee's one. Yeah. What we don't know is, because allegedly it was checked by an armourer, of course, before handing it off, and potentially the first AD, or both said, it was okay, here you go, now rehearse with this gun. Now, what is also coming out is that, it was a low budget shoot. They were having problems paying their crew, potentially. Some crew had already walked off. The armourer may have actually been quite inexperienced, Also that a stunt person had already had an issue, like, prior to this incident, where 2 live rounds had went off when he was rehearsing, but nothing happened. It didn't injure anyone.
Live rounds went off while he was rehearsing.
Yeah.
How does it happen multiple times?
Sorry, a gun discharged.
With a blank in it.
Yeah, potentially.
So
yes.
basically,
not necessarily live
with
rounds.
Right. So it was loaded
but
with a blank.
essentially they had a situation where there'd been these 2 misfires.
Yeah.
Or something had been, a projectile had come out of the gun when it shouldn't, as they were rehearsing the stunt person a few days or a week prior to this incident.
Yeah.
And so essentially, you know, there's a promising young director of photographer's life has been cut tragically short. Alec Baldwin has shot and killed that person. You know, whether most likely it was absolutely not his fault in the sense that, you know, he is passed this gun and told that it is safe. So he has no reason to believe it is not safe. Some people were saying, well, you know, the light's gone out. We've been talking for too long. That's how you know we've been talking for too long, because our backlight's gone out. Had been told, you know, normally when you give an actor a gun, you're giving them, essentially they are trusting that person who gives it, you're putting your trust, the actor is putting your trust in them that this gun is safe. You know, because they don't potentially know, like someone was like, well, he should have checked the route. They don't necessarily know how to do that. They don't necessarily know anything about, you know, what happened there?
I was trying to prep for the end of the show and I cut us out somehow. Let's not dwell on
it. Okay. So anyway, I don't think that, you know, there's any responsibility on his end in that regard. But obviously many questions have to be asked about how did this happen? How was that gun not checked? How did this gun have a live round in it? And all those investigations are ongoing. But what's your sort of thoughts?
Well, I mean, you know, it's a tragic turn of events, really. I mean, it does sound kind of insane that, I mean, obviously there's going to be some serious repercussions here, right? Like,
it's a bit lawsuits pending for sure.
Well, it's just that this is a monumental fuck up. It starts at the top with the president of the United States, because the gun laws in America are so fucked that there's just fucking bullets and guns lying around everywhere. You're making movies with your mates and people are getting fucking shot, right? Why? Because everybody's got a goddamn gun, because the gun laws are so stupidly loose. And so, you know, I mean, this is where this is all coming from. This is where it begins. And then so you move on a little bit. Somebody who had one job, which was to make sure that they're in charge of health and safety, they're in charge of gun safety, you know, whether it's the armorer or the fucking props master or, you know, whatever the actual correct title is for this person, you know, they've got one job on set, which is to make sure that the guns are safe. So, you know, somebody really, really fucked up somehow. But it's also one of those things that could almost only really happen in some certain countries. Like, you're not going to accidentally get a live gun and live rounds on a New Zealand film set, because guns aren't fucking lying around where everybody can grab them.
Well, no, but this wasn't well, I guess you mean this kind of how this prop may have been.
Well, how did this gun make its way on set?
Well,
this gun, theoretically, maybe from what I heard, made its way on set from the people, from the props master's daughter, or the, you know, this is what I read. Somebody's daughter had brought the gun on set for target practice out in the desert, and they happened to be the props master's, like, you know, like daughter type thing, and then that's how the gun got to be on set, and then it got mixed up somehow, or something happened and it ended up in the wrong hands, and then so it shot this person. Maybe this is rumor and hearsay, I don't know, but, you know, like that's what I heard, that it was brought on set by this person's daughter for her to do target practice out in the desert, which, if you think about it, you can see the motivation. You go, hey, I'm fucking around on set, dad's working, or I'm out on set, I'm gonna practice my shooting because I'm an American and shooting is totally normal to us. Yeah.
To me, that, I mean, look, that could be the case. To me, that sounds
far-fetched.
Yeah. But
so you think it could be like just some other object is in the barrel, and then the blank shoots the object, whatever it is, into the person?
What I think, no, not necessarily. I think that there's two things going on here. Like, one is that, you know, people do use real guns on set, right? For certain things, potentially. As in a gun that shoots a real live ammo also shoots a blank.
Yeah.
So they're used in both contexts.
Yeah.
Therefore, you know, the real issue here is not checking the gun properly when giving it to the actor.
Yeah.
because absolutely it's possible for somehow for a live round to be involved here when normally there would be blanks in there. Either way, because the thing is, the blank could have killed the person as well. If a blank is fired in close proximity to someone, you can kill someone with a blank. So the problem is that there can't be anything in the gun when it's given to the actor and said it's a cold gun, you know? And that's where the problem lies.
But do you see what I mean? That this could not happen. If it's a real bullet, it couldn't happen in any other country. You've just said it's a bullet, right? So it literally pretty much couldn't happen anywhere except for, I mean, it pretty much can't happen anywhere except for America. You know, like, how would you accidentally get a live gun on set in New Zealand? Accidentally.
Well, I guess all guns.
Unless you're like a criminal
but that's the
carrying
thing.
a gun around.
Any gun you bring on set is a live gun.
Exactly. Why? Not in the rest of the world. There's prop guns. We use prop guns.
Well, that's the thing.
We don't.
But that's what I'm saying.
Hey, Americans, we're all using prop guns.
But we
over
don't.
here.
Like, if we think about I Survived the Zombie Holocaust, we did. I don't know if you were there the day that we shot all the guns, but that was a real gun firing blanks. You know, so it could have had a real bullet in there if it was not checked properly by the armorer, you know.
True.
So, you know, I sort of relate it back to that experience of, you know, what was the safety like on our set when we had someone firing a gun off, 2 guns, no less, and what was the process there. And we had an armorer on set, obviously. He was in charge of all that sort of thing. He was managing all of those things. Whenever blanks were being fired in the direction of the camera, no one was near the camera. There was also a sheet of plexi plastic.
I don't think I was there for any of that.
Yeah, you probably weren't because it wasn't a scene involving you.
Yeah.
And so
I guess that explains why I wasn't there.
And so, you know, there was a whole thing, but I just sort of relate it back to that experience. But I also do relate it back to sort of the casualness of everyone around that, in the sense that no one was doing any dumb shit, no one's waving guns around, no one's pointing guns in anyone's face. But when our actor, Mike Edward, was given a gun, he was given a gun that was checked by the armorer, who, you know, looked through it and told him exactly what to do when and where to be careful. When we set everything up, there was absolutely no pointing of a gun at, like, for a rehearsal. It was like, let's frame that up. Let's look on the monitor. Me and the DOP will look on the monitor, not when he's pointing the gun at us, even though that was also behind a plexiglass. Not that would have mattered if there was a live round in there. But he would also, after every time, he would open up the thing, he would roll it through, and he would click it through. And then if he was going to put more blanks in, he would do that or not. You know, it was all very meticulously laid out, and he had a very specific system that he put in place, which is what you need. So how we got to, you know, because really it was just it not being checked properly, and then the second sort of safety mistake being we're going to rehearse with this real gun, you know, as opposed we're going to rehearse with our fake prop gun.
Yeah.
When we come to record, the real gun's going to come then, but up until then, it's going to be this fake gun. And so, yeah, there was definitely some mistakes made around that, but it's just a very tragic, devastating thing. Yes, it was 100% preventable. Yes, you know, I feel bad for Alec Baldwin in the sense that Alec Baldwin shoots someone dead, being every headline ever you know, whereas it's like, yes, 100% true, but that's for you to click through to it.
Yeah.
You know, you could have also said tragic accident
on film set.
On film set kills thing.
Yeah.
You know, misfiring of gun on.
You need that Alec Baldwin.
But you got to say Alec Baldwin so you know. And there will absolutely
That's
be.
why I checked it out.
That's
why we're all talking about it.
There'll definitely be a wrongful death lawsuit over it because
there's got to be
a fundamental mistake was made that was preventable. No one's going to say at the end of this that you know, could have happened to anyone, you know? No. It couldn't have happened if you put the right safety processes in place.
Yeah, there was definitely some fuck-ups here.
And it, you know, does go back to the idea of, like, crews being rushed, crews having to get through things, low budget things, you know, cutting corners and safety, all those types of things. And then at the moment, the sort of the unions are talking about, you know, better work conditions and environments on sets because of all of this type of thing. And this only reinforces the idea, but it's a absolute travesty that this brings it even further into the spotlight of the things that are wrong with this type of sort of shooting environment. But yeah, so just very scary. And, you know, to me, it just conjures up, it reminds me of some of these other crazy accidents that have happened on set, which are all a lot of the time due to not being safe, but not necessarily, you know, thinking of it like that. It's just like, we got to hurry up and get this shot. We got to hurry up and go. Do
you see that one where a man and a child got chopped up by the helicopter blades?
Well, that's the most famous one on
the Vietnam War movie.
Well, it was I believe it was actually a segment from the Twilight Zone movie. And so it was a segment, you know, based around this thing. There was a helicopter. It went down too low, got caught. The rotaries got caught in something, which then forced it to crash and go into the stars of the thing that were being filmed, sort of with them in frame with the helicopter. And that, again, that resulted in lawsuits and stuff like that, and almost potentially the end of John Landis's career as a director, whether or not, you know, it was admitted that was the case, and, you know, who said, you know, whose fault was it? Was it the helicopter person going too low? Was it the people telling the helicopter to go too low? Was it, you know,
obviously the helicopter pilot, right? I mean, nobody's going to tell me to fly my fucking plane into a building, right? I'm going to go like, no, that's dumb, and I'm not going to do it. Right, I'm the person in charge of safety of myself and this plane, this vehicle, right? So whose else fault would it be? That you can tell them to go to that level, but if they go, we can't do that, that's their prerogative, right?
I guess it's the knowledge of, like, you know, was that person
pressured?
That pilot feel pressured, or that pilot go, that's a bit dicey, but yeah, we can make it.
Did the pilot survive?
Oh no, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does remind you of these tragic accidents that do occasionally happen on set, but I feel like this one was essentially to some degree a repeat of the Brandon Lee tragedy. But, you know, what we should have done is learned from the Brandon Lee tragedy and the way that we manage firearms on set. Obviously, you know, the best solution is to use fake guns, which is more doable now than it was in the past. But there is another sort of discussion around this, which is that the problem is that those prop guns are more expensive than the real guns,
right? And
so you're then creating another degree, especially on a low budget thing, of,
well, we might as well use the real one.
We'll use a real one and just
everyone's got one. I've got one in my pocket right now.
We'll use the
Here's
real
my
one
gun.
And be safe with it, you know.
And if we can't use my gun, we'll just use my baby's gun. Here it is.
So
now I read the article I read said that, you know, it told the story, right? And then at the end of the article, here's what it said. So Alec Baldwin, the poor son of a bitch, has just fucking shot somebody.
Yep.
Somebody he works with.
Yep.
Maybe somebody who has a personal relationship with, a friendship with. Somebody who
he may have even given as a producer or executive producer.
He might have given them the job.
Yeah.
Now, this article, which I read, it told all of that, and that was all fine. Told the story, and that was fine. That's what articles do. And then it ended this way. Mr. Baldwin also has a history of run-ins with the police. In 2014, he was arrested after he rode his bicycle the wrong way on 5th Avenue near 16th Street in Manhattan. Officers charged him with disorderly conduct after they said he became belligerent. In 2019, Mr. Baldwin pleaded guilty to harassment in Manhattan Criminal Court and agreed to take an anger management course in a deal with prosecutors to dispose of charges that he had assaulted a man during a dispute over a parking spot. That was what Nicole Sperling, the journalist, tacked on to the end of this article. And it's like, what the fuck does that have to do with the price of fucking fish, Nicole? This is insane. You know, like the poor bastard's just killed one of his fucking colleagues.
Yep.
Through probably like no fault of his own.
Yep.
He had to witness that. That's going through his head in slow motion.
He
now.
was there on set as she was bleeding out.
He was there. He witnessed the whole.
And he was like
horror.
looking at this hole in this that he's blown in someone,
which he did with his own hand.
There's this flash. You see these people on the ground. He's like, "What the fuck happened?"
Yeah. He
has no idea because all he was doing was pulling out his gun as he was told to do.
Yep.
As the prop that was given to him, which was allegedly completely safe. I know there's also some people like, well, what was he doing with his hand on the trigger and blah blah blah. If you're unholstering a gun, right, you're not necessarily gonna unholster it like the same, like the idea being, I'm sure he's going to unholster it fast and so if you're doing that, you can't necessarily gauge whether your hand is going to be on a trigger or not, or exactly how accurate you are on that. That's an inaccurate part of the safety procedure. The accurate part of the safety procedure is making sure that that gun can in no way do any harm to anyone should he accidentally touch the trigger.
No, it's true. It's true. So, yes, anyway.
So Nicole's got it out for him.
Nicole Sperling, I just thought that was poor form, schlocky journalism.
Yeah.
Like she's talking about,
biking the wrong way up a street.
This poor guy had to witness this horrific ordeal, which is going to be, it's only been a couple of days. It's going to be obviously everything he thinks about
for the
from for a long time. Well, it's going to take a while to get over this. And certainly at the moment, it's all he's thinking about. What he witnesses, what he witnessed, and then of course the years of potential legal repercussions for him as the producer,
and wishing it was different too, replaying that whole thing and just wishing, I just wish that I'd hit it and I'd shot my fucking foot, as I was pulling it out, or wishing that I had like looked, if I knew what I was doing, I'd looked at it too, just to be sure, that I hadn't taken the word for it of the armourer and the first AD.
Yeah. Well, it's just bullshit that he,
he has to deal and live with that, yeah.
And then back, like she's talking about a fucking parking ticket and a traffic altercation.
Of course you're going to be upset if someone steals your park.
Fair enough, right?
I mean, come on, haven't we all had a little argument over some? Hey, mate, didn't you see me? I was reversing into there. You just pulled right in. You don't have any right. Not the same.
Moving on from Alec Baldwin and heading towards an end in this show, I assume.
We can only hope. The lights have gone out. The lights are trying to tell us something.
To be honest, it looks a lot better. It actually looks really good. It's too dark. No. I think it's really good. We look way better now. We don't need that wall behind us. We don't need the wall. This looks way better. Let us know, listeners. Does this look better or not? But personally, I think that looks cool.
Podcast after dark.
We look cool. The background looks cool. Everything looks cool. I like it. But so I've been asked to perform poetry. I'm back on the poetry wagon. I have been asked to perform poetry. I got contacted after my TEDx performance 5 years ago. It obviously stuck in somebody's memory because they thought of me, because this person is running an event, a Waikato was in New Zealand, a Waikato event about climate change. It's called a climathon, and the idea is to raise awareness about climate change. And so there's it's an online event and it's free, but there's a bunch of people talking, speakers, and then there's sort of there is a show, but there's also an opportunity for participants to connect with one another in kind of chat rooms and so on. And the idea is to kind of get a bunch of people who care about climate change together, get them thinking about, how climate, how we can, face this problem. And so they contacted me to see about if I would be interested in performing poetry via Zoom next week. And I've got about 10 minutes to fill. If I say yes, then the gig is about 10 minutes. So I need 10 minutes of content for an online Zoom event for the Climate-a-thon.
It's plastic, not magic.
Yep.
Plato's Cave.
Plato's Cave's too short. And it's not really about climate change.
It's just one of many, though. Just chuck it in there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Open people's minds.
Yeah.
Satan's Return.
Saturn's Return. Saturn's Return is actually one that I forgot about, and I'm glad you reminded me of it.
Yeah, so Satan's Return.
Saturn's Return.
It's plastic, not magic. Plato's Cave, and chuck in there dope new shoes. You're done.
No, you just chucked dope new shoes. What about Romans? The one about the Roman Empire crumbling. And how it was
I'm picking my ones, mate.
Well, to be honest,
well, these are my picks.
Well, yeah, fair call, and those are all exactly the ones that probably I would be using. It's a good call. Well, not Satan's Return and not Plato's Cave, but the other ones.
Satan's Return would not.
No, Satan's Return is not bad though. I'm going to look that up. I'll perform it next week on the show. But anyway, this poetry performance.
Shit, what have I got myself into? I've unleashed a monster here.
This poetry performance, if I say yes to it, is about an hour and a half before the Show Me Shorts Awards night. So next week on Thursday the 28th is the Show Me Shorts Awards night, where they announce the awards of the winners of all of the various categories in Show Me Shorts for this year. And we've had to do it online. And what that means is it's going to be online live from this very studio, the Pigville Productions head office studio. And so I'm going to be hosting it from 7 p.m. And this poetry performance is on the same day at 4:30 p.m., something like that. So I'd have to, do them both at the same time. I'd have to do them on the same day. So the question is, can I perform on Zoom 3 times in one day? And I have to decide that. And then I have to...
the answer is yeah.
That I should just do it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy because you can just look at your computer.
Well, no, I'm just going to do it right here because I'm going to set up for that show. I've got a show in here that night anyway, right? Yeah. So I'll set up the studio, everything will be ready to rock, and then I'll do a quick fucking poem, and then I'll do another quick fucking poem, and it'll be like a nice warm-up for the awards night. So I'm probably going to do that anyway. So I'll share that on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley, and it'll be me doing some poetry at a climate change event. In case that sounds like something you want in your life.
Well, see, this is what worries me too about the old, people not wanting to vaccinate thing. It's like, okay, you don't want to get a needle in your arm. I'm a little bit concerned about how you're going to feel about having to do some actual real work when this whole climate crisis comes to a head.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to feel about your freedoms being taken away when you have to catch the bus, for God's sakes?
Like a fucking animal.
Like, holy shit, you're going to have to take... Whoa, we're all expected to take public transport now? I've got to sell my fucking big-ass car? This is an assault on us. This is a dictatorship.
Are you talking about, like, climate change restrictions now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, and amendments that we will make to fall in line with reducing emissions. Oh, are you telling me? Do you mean to tell me that I have to have a different car to the one I currently have? That's an assault on my freedom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Luckily, though, they're just on the wrong side of history. They're all on the wrong side of, like, progress. So it's like they're just going to be forced to get electric cars eventually.
The batteries, Harley.
The batteries are good. They're fine. They're totally fine.
But they take more energy than it costs to run a petrol car for 10 years.
But that depends where your electricity comes from, you see. So if you plug it into your wall, if your local electricity is manufactured by a coal power plant, then yes, it's a problem. You need to get rid of that coal power plant. But if your local electricity is manufactured is harvested from the sun and the wind and nuclear, I'm not actually against nuclear, believe it or not, then you might be okay. It's not true.
I don't want to
Electric cars.
I don't want to be taking. What? I'm gonna get on a train now.
I told you guys I'm getting rich on. I'm getting rich because of Tesla now.
Yeah.
Tesla, since last week when we spoke, Tesla is now at an all-time high.
So a stake update for me.
An all-time high. Yeah, so you checked it out.
Yeah, so I went.
How's
yours?
yours?
I literally haven't
Now,
looked at it in a year.
I've got a bad feeling for you because when you came on board, everything was at an all-time high.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of went
That's
down
right.
a bit. But now a lot of stuff's coming back up.
Exactly. So I was like really excited. I was
Yeah.
like,
You're like,
I'm
what's
gonna
it gonna be
my $100 is gonna be
Yeah.
$3,000.
Yeah.
So I actually invested a little bit more.
Yeah.
Apple.
Yeah.
Right? Apple came out with the
Apple's a
list.
good call. Apple's a good call. Do you think Apple's going to be worth more now or in 5 years?
5 years.
Well, then Apple's a good call.
So anyway, I had a look at my stake, because you made 180% worth of profits or some
Well,
shit.
more now. It's way up now.
So that's your investment has returned you 180%.
Yeah, at least.
My investment, 4%. Or 3.5%. And I was
Right.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This has been invested for a year.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is like this is exactly the amount that I'd get if I'd invested in the fucking bank. The bank would have given
Yeah.
me 3%.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Investment in stocks is bullshit.
I'm not sure if the bank would have actually given you 3%.
3%.
The bank wouldn't have given you 3%.
High saver on the $100.
No, that's not 3%.
3%.
Nah, you're dreaming.
3%.
You've been like 0.5% or something. But yes,
I was very disappointed.
So you only went up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I remember when you joined, and
It was a bad time.
It turned out to be not a good time.
It was a bad time.
But only in the short term. In the grand scheme of things, 5 years from now, you're still going to be like, gosh, I should have put more in, particularly when it was cheap because the market was down. That's what I should have done. So at the moment, I am overall on stake, I'm 137% up. On Tesla, I'm 205% up. This is on stake. If you guys want to join stake, there's a link in the description. It's not for every nation. And we both get free money. You get free money, I get free money. Same with Sharesies. Now, on Sharesies, I'm nearly $9,000 up. I'm 22% up.
On Sharesies.
On Sharesies. So on Sharesies, I'm 22% up. That's not really that much. And then on stake, I'm 137% up.
That's a lot.
That's quite good.
That's dramatic.
So overall, I'm well and truly up over the two of those. And it's like the last thing I want is I want people to think that I'm a financial expert and I'm giving people advice. Because obviously I'm not a financial expert and I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about. All I can ever talk about is what I understand and what I know to be true in my personal experiences. And my personal experience is that I downloaded an app on my phone and I took the risk and I put some of my money in it. And now I'm way up. I've made way more money. I'm now technically worth more money. So when I go to buy my house, the bank's going to say, how much are you worth? And I'm going to be able to say to them,
Christchurch.
I'm going to be able to say to them, I'd rather Dunedin, to be honest. Dunedin's where my heart is. And so I'm going to be able to say to them, well, actually, I've got investments worth this amount. And so my personal experience is that this investing with these apps is either incredibly easy or I'm just exceptionally talented. And I don't know which it is. But either way, I'm up a bunch of money, and it might go down. I don't even deny that. It could easily go down. We're living in such tumultuous times with this virus and shit. But I don't know. So far, so good. So if you want to join, links in the description. We both get paid. You get free money, and so do I.
I'm downloading the app. It's taking too long.
But why do you need stake if you've already got Sharesies?
Oh wait, which one do I have? That's a good question. Maybe
I see. Maybe
I
you
can't
joined
remember
stake?
which one I'm joined to now.
Right. Okay. Well, it depends what you want. Like some apps you can buy like certain stocks, like more American stocks. So for example, stake. I can't find Auckland Airport on stake. So you can't buy these New Zealand companies on stake. But then there's some American companies that you can't find on Sharesies that you can find on stake.
I put some money in Apple.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford Tesla.
Well, you say you couldn't afford it, but you should have just put in $100 either way. You know, you put in whether you spend $100 on Apple or $100 on Tesla, it would have cost you $100.
Sure, but,
You know, but you
I'm
would have had less- you would
diversifying
have-
my
You
portfolio,
would have had less,
Harley.
but you're not diversifying if you only bought Apple.
No, I bought Apple and AMD.
Yeah. How did AMD do?
I haven't checked.
How did AM do?
No idea.
Oh, all right. So you checked your sharesies, but not you only checked one stock.
I
of it.
logged in.
Yeah.
I saw that I was 3% up. Very disappointed.
Okay, and then you didn't pay attention.
And then I
to
put another
what had-
$100 in.
recently.
Yeah, like
good on
when
ya.
when I did the check,
Oh, good on you.
and I was like, I got
Bloody good on you.
I got $100.
Hey,
So,
he's putting his saving and everything nowadays. I'm fucking proud of you.
and then I put like $40 on Apple, $40 on AMD, and then maybe there's some money left over. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Well, look.
So
Interesting time to be alive.
3% up
Remember,
in a year.
just remember what Littlefinger said. Chaos isn't a pit. It's a ladder. There's also a saying in investing, which is like, be brave when everyone else is scared, and be scared when everyone else is brave, something like that. And they're saying, like, you know, these times, these uncertain times are when people get rich, right? So if you took your life savings right now and banged it on, you know, Tesla or
Everything
something,
on black.
you know, like
everything on black.
You might get rich right now by betting on Bitcoin or by betting on Tesla or something like that. You know, chaos is not a pit; it's a ladder. But you've got to figure out your own personal risk profile and figure out how much risk you're going to take. Yeah, interesting times. Anyway, good show. I'm out of notes.
I'm out of fucks
I'm out of fucks. Cool.
to give.
I'll quickly mention that I watched the Omeletto Utopia short film,
As
which
recommended.
Runs with Scissors, you know, said we should watch
Yeah.
and posted on Facebook. And it was good. It was fine.
I'm sure that's a lot better than the recommendation that I watched from Runs with Scissors,
Which was that?
which was a piece that he shared on Facebook from I think his name is Paul Jordan.
All right. So it was some bullshit, some alt-right bullshit.
Yeah, very alt.
Some alt-right confirmation.
Yes, yeah.
Confirmation bias echo chamber bullshit.
Which I in fact
in which Runs with
replied
Scissors lives.
saying as such.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I watched it.
I remember. I saw your response.
Yeah.
So this person posted on Facebook, Runs with Scissors, posted on Facebook a thing, and I saw a big long response from you.
Yeah.
And it was like multiple paragraphs, and I was like, "Fucking hell, that was a big. This is kind of a big deal. Like, guy doesn't spend this much time.
I got sucked
on
in.
fucking Facebook arguing about dumb shit.
I got sucked in. Because this is what I teach people as part of my course. So part of my course, Digital Media and Design, is about ethics in new media and how people sort of get manipulated online through misinformation and through the echo chamber, which is the idea that you get pushed more of the things that you want because that keeps you online longer by the different platforms. So if you are a flat earther and you look up, is the earth really round or flat? You'll get recommended a flat earth documentary. If you watch that documentary, you'll get more recommendations. The world is actually flat, you know, and so on and so on. And you will keep being given things that support, you know, that narrative. And that becomes a real serious problem if the information you're being given is incorrect to begin with, is not based in reality. And unfortunately, that's where, you know, all of us can find ourselves to some degree. And so it's something that I sort of talk about and teach, and it's something that I get concerned about when people put it online, because, you know, and my first introduction to this type of thing was from my girlfriend, who shared a documentary about stars, like completely harmless, but astrology and star signs and the meaning behind it. And
Your girlfriend shared that.
yeah, my girlfriend said, "Hey, take a
But
watch."
it's nonsense.
Yeah, my girlfriend said, "Take a watch of this." Not my current girlfriend.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
my girlfriend like 4 or 5 times removed.
I see.
And she was like, "Take a look at this, see what you think."
Yeah.
Pretty interesting, right? And I was like, what? Like, when I watched it, I was like, we had a huge argument about it. I was like, what in the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
This makes no sense, but also how could you, a very smart person,
believe it? Yeah.
And anyway, that's the issue that often you have with these types of things where you go searching for the answers that you want. So I watched this
confirmation bias.
So I watched this video specifically to work against my own confirmation bias, which was, you know, my beliefs grounded in the science and evidence-based.
That
and
pesky evidence.
The general consensus from epidemiologists around the world. You know, I was like, have I been brainwashed?
No.
Have I been brainwashed by these experts
No.
that have spent?
It's the scientists who are wrong.
It's the scientists who are wrong. So I watched it to indulge because I wanted to see the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
And what I saw, I did not like, so much so that I had to post a lengthy retort, which I regretted posting because I took so much time. But
so much effort, and then now you're going to get notified again and again and again, not only from him, but also from his dumb friends.
But other people. But I think the issue is that the flip side of that argument is that if none of us oppose with common sense and logic, if none of us do, then that also reinforces the misinformation.
Silence favors the victim, not the oppressor.
Exactly, because you go, oh, you got no comeback to that, do you?
Yeah.
I guess I'm fucking right then, you dumb sheep. You dumb loving sheeple. So you know, so I felt compelled that I had to reply to that specific issue.
Good on you. You're not wrong. Facebook revolutionary is what I'd call you. You see what I mean? Now you're starting to understand what the change you can make just with a Facebook comment.
But the other issue is that you can't change someone's mind by
but you can.
replying.
Here's the thing. I think you can. And
Hopefully
I feel like I've learned a lot from Facebook. And sometimes people reply to things I posted.
You can plant a kernel.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone.
Exactly. They just plant a kernel, right?
You plant a kernel.
It's happened to me where somebody plants a kernel with a response. I post something and they say, well, this is done for this reason. And I'm like, yeah, well, fuck you too. But then that little bit sticks with me as well. I'm like, yeah, well, actually they're not wrong, and then I'm a better writer and a better, I have a better comprehension of the world after that.
I got sucked in.
No, it's good. You did your civic duty.
Yeah.
To yell down a anti-vaxxer yelling nonsense onto the internet.
I was more concerned with what he was sharing than his own personal perspective on it. But it was just grounded in a lot of stuff that you're like, what are you cannot possibly, are you
serious?
Just sitting watching a video going, no, that doesn't mean that.
How do you jump to that conclusion? It's so illogical.
That's not evidence-based. You just cut away to the...
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just like, damn. And I think this is the problem, and this is a real issue, and this is what I said in the thing, is that now people are making money off that.
Yeah.
And,
easy motivation, right?
And that's the real issue, is that this guy,
that's your motive.
This faux journalist or talk person or whoever he is, who's like a sort of renowned conspiracy theorist and alt-right guy, right? That's his sort of MO. But it's like... But if you drill down...
This is all nonsense?
Well, yes, but if you also drill down, it's like, cool, bro. You don't believe in any of this shit? But you're vaccinated, right? You are, right? You've done that. So whatever you say right now...
But who's done it, though?
The guy. I think the guy is the guy who's saying, like, COVID doesn't mean anything. It's all the government. It's fear-mongering, blah, blah, blah. He's fear-mongering himself through his videos, but also I think he's vaccinated.
He might not be.
I think he is. I think he's in Britain
not.
And he's vaxxed up. He's rich, he's vaxxed up, and he's taking advantage of people who don't want to, buy in. And that therein lies the contradiction, But yeah, of course, that's my opinion. I don't know if he is or not. That's me speculating.
Well, it was definitely nonsense. When I saw
Sure
it
was
I
nonsense.
was like, for fuck's sake.
I was sure disappointed in that share.
It is strange to me. It's very the bit I find weirdest about everything that I'm seeing. I'm not talking about any of our listeners. I'm just talking about this whole anti-vax thing in general, and just these weird contrarian opinions. Is why nobody thinks they're the smartest person in the world, and nobody thinks they're the dumbest person in the world. But why would you think that you know better than professionals who have studied for decades, and the consensus
and committed their lives
to figuring it out, to figuring these things out? And it's like, okay, cool. So do you just think you're smarter than those people, or do you think those people are lying for some ulterior motive? Now, obviously, the lying for an ulterior motive angle doesn't work once the conspiracy gets too big, because, like you say, 9/11, for it to be an inside job, would require the collaboration of tens of thousands of people. Who laid those explosives? Who did this? Who did that? It just doesn't work, and everybody have to keep secret, keep silent about it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, none of it works.
No. And I also think, because it's absolutely true that, lockdown is hard for a lot of people. You've been there.
I've been there.
You said you weren't doing another one.
I'm currently here doing another one.
But you said you weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
You said you were going to lead a revolution.
Yeah. No, I changed my mind. Let's just get on with it. Let's get on with the vaccination.
So we can't diminish that. We can't diminish how hard it is for people. We can't diminish how taxing it is for people in all walks of life, and the difficulty around that. And I think that it's very important to acknowledge, and then what that impact has on your life makes you a lot more predisposed to go, fuck this shit, because you're having such a miserable time. And then along comes Paul Watson, or whatever the fuck his name is, and goes, yeah, well, guess what? This miserable time you're having, you don't even have to have it.
But all that aside, how do you think you're smarter than the fucking experts, though? That's the bit that boggles my mind. How do you think you're smarter than the experts?
Well, maybe it's not a matter.
It's so weird.
Maybe it's not a matter of thinking you're smarter than the expert. It's like, you've been put in this miserable position.
Yeah, so you'd rather have this illusion fed to you.
So yeah,
and
you'd
you go,
rather
cool, I'm a smart person, but I'm going to choose the thing which is obviously bullshit.
Well,
and so you choose that in order to protect yourself. But how can you protect yourself if you actually know that the other thing is true? So it's like, these are either extremely stupid people, or...
Not really, though, because...
What?
All of this... again boils down to the idea of
deluded
critical thinking.
Maybe people are unable to look at this realistically and go, chances are I don't know more than a scholar.
But
and if the scholars are saying this, I should listen to them.
But all of
because
that,
YouTube is obviously nonsense, and I'm smart enough to recognize that YouTube is nonsense.
But all of that is critical reflection, critical
maybe
thinking, self-awareness, and reflection.
So
all
dumb
of
is the
those
wrong
things.
word. Basically, what we're saying is dumb is the wrong word, because they can be good at heaps of other really great things.
They have not been
and
given
really
those
smart
tools.
Yeah. Okay. So dumb is the wrong word. I'll give you that.
To manage these concepts.
We have a lot of dumb listeners, but not necessarily the anti-vaxxers.
To manage these things and think through them from that perspective, because that's what I've learned teaching, is that critical thinking is not taught. That's not something that we teach at school.
It's not taught, but you can learn it.
But you can, learn it. You can
feel like I learned,
and you can learn
thinking.
it. You can learn it through sort of osmosis. You can learn it through being, keeping your eyes and ears open, all that sort of thing. But
Wine glass and Wikipedia University.
But it's not taught. And if it's not taught, then you also can't blame the people that are. If you feel mistreated and misunderstood and oppressed, and then someone gives you an entryway to validate those feelings and take them into this realm of fuck everything, or fuck the government, or fuck doing these things that are meant to be good, this is where we get this divisive situation. So I think that a lot of it is, you know, a failure of our education system, and a failure of us, even in our sort of day-to-day, to sort of exercise these practices of critical thinking, reflection, and introspection, and sort of utilize them as tools when we think about a problem that is kind of seems bigger, way bigger than us, like how we should respond to COVID, or how we deal with it, or how we should be feeling about it, because it's also okay to hate the restrictions but understand why they happen. That's quite a hard thing to reconcile, to be like, fuck this, I'm miserable and I hate everything that's going on, but it's good, because that doesn't seem like that for a lot of people, or it's right, because sometimes the right thing is not the good thing. All of those things are a very complicated thing that especially are, you know, people that we have underserved in the community are not provided. Those tools are not provided to them. And I think that even if you think about, you know, our outrage, our moral outrage at anti-vaxxers, or our moral outrage at anti-vaxxers, like I sort of had a revelatory moment where I was like, it's incredibly offensive to someone that understands all this, that you would not do this, because it seems incredibly selfish. And so it's very offensive because we are looking at it from that perspective. But if you're looking at it from a perspective of you don't believe any of that, then it's not selfish, you know? And therefore, our perspective is very skewed to be sort of outraged and offended, whereas we're not going, but they don't even understand, or they purely don't believe that these things are true. And if you don't believe these things are true, then there is no selfish choice that is being made. And that's something that you kind of have to take with you when you sit down with an anti-vaxxer and have a conversation. But that's really hard to do.
Yeah. But I mean, back to the dumb thing though. Like, perspective or not, you know, I mean, like, you just have a bit of a look around. You go, all right, hang on. Okay. Those experts are saying this. Yep. People I love and respect are saying that, and this, and, you know, a lot of them overall generally agree with me. You know, like, don't agree with me, agree with the government, you know, like, okay, so the government's saying this, the scientists are saying this, the research, the worldwide research is saying this. My friends and family and so on, a lot of these people are saying this. But I believe that I know better. And, okay, well, you believe you know better, and all right, okay, that's fine. Why do you believe that? How can you possibly believe that you are smarter than all of the experts, than, you know, the general consensus of people around you?
I think it's more like the government is saying this, the experts are saying this. Why the fuck do I care what the government is saying?
Yeah, you don't care.
Because they've let me down so often.
Yeah. Well, I get that.
That I really can't indulge in this particular thing that they're saying, because, you know, they've been wrong about.
Sure, but what about your peers? You know,
so then you go
to your peers. You go, okay, guys, what's the story? Should we get this vaccine? And like all the smart people you know have got the vaccine, and all the dumb ones haven't got it. And I know that, again, I know it's insulting, but when I look at my Facebook feed, okay, and this is how my worldview is now. It's via Facebook. When I look at my Facebook feed. Never, since this whole pandemic began, not a single time, not even once, has somebody who I respect as an intellectual, as somebody who I go, okay, this is a person who I look up to, and, you know, they're likely to, you know, be saying things that are sensible. Not a single time have these people posted things that are anti-vax, and yet the morons who are posting, you know, various
in the comments,
flat earth conspiracy theories and other nonsense, these people, no, on their personal Facebooks, And they post on their personal Facebooks their own stuff. And there are some people on my Facebook feed that I'm like, man, you're a dumb person. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This is illogical. That doesn't make any sense for any reason. And I used to reply. And then I eventually I was like, okay, I can't waste any more of my life on this.
I got so much life.
I stopped replying. But, you know, the point is that it's not the smart people in my news feed who are posting anti-vax stuff. It's the same dumb cunts that also post, you know, like flat earth things, or, you know, like 9/11 was an inside job, or the moon landing was faked. You know, it is.
Stanley
You know,
Kubrick shot that.
It's not the smart people that I'm like, oh, wow, the smart people are saying this stuff. I'm like, okay, the dumbest people on my Facebook are saying this, and the smartest people are saying that.
But if you're the dumbest person on your Facebook, you don't know that.
Well, that's the problem, right? But how can you not have the self-awareness to say, okay, I'm not the smartest person in the world. Maybe I should listen to the people around me who know better than me about this. But
that's your echo chamber, Harley. You know, to some degree.
To say that I'm not the smartest person in the world?
No. That's
because that's definitely what they're saying in my echo chamber.
No,
Harley, you are not the smartest person in the world.
Like you actually have, like in your echo chamber, you have a bunch of intellectual smart people that are talking about this and having
birds of a feather.
yeah, exactly,
together.
exactly. But other people that are also in your news feed, you are the intellectual of that thing, and in the rest of the circle, it's a bunch of people that have lost their jobs. And so that's where that sort of disconnect can sort of be. And again, I really do feel like we're a fundamentally failing. You know, like, because I see it all the time. I teach in an area of Auckland that is not
a lower socioeconomic area of
exactly.
Auckland.
And what I see is
Herne Bay.
What I see daily is where we've failed to educate people, students, learners, prior to coming to my course or prior to whatever. I see that, and I see that day to day, and it gives me a different perspective than I ever had, again, in my Facebook circle of the intellectual elite.
That's what this episode should be called, the intellectual elite.
And so I kind of, because, you know, when you don't have those parameters in place, it's so easy to get sucked into, because if, you know, your dad going, well, look, I went to church and the minister told me that this is fucking bullshit. And the church has served us incredibly well. The church has supported us. The church, praise be.
Religion poisons everything.
And so, but the government, who cut our fucking subsidy bill so we couldn't buy potatoes last week, says it's a good idea. So who are we going to believe? Mr. Tamaki, thank you very much. Now, unfortunately, he's one of those exact same people, like Paul Watson, YouTuber, that is utilizing this as a vehicle for themselves to grow,
weaponizing,
to grow in power and influence, and sort of,
that's populist politics, is what that is. It's essentially like appealing to people,
yes,
not because you actually have their best intentions in mind, but because you know you can manipulate them with rhetoric that makes them angry, and you divide them, and then you can make them work against each other. And this is an age-old political technique, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about it.
And unfortunately, it's been used by YouTubers now.
Yeah, and now it's being used by YouTubers.
It's been used by influencers now on YouTube. Yeah. So that guy had like 1.5 million views or something on that particular video, and about that amount of subscribers.
The good news is that generally
he was
speaking,
demonetized, though, thank God.
And also, advertisers don't want to put their ads on that type of shit, which means that it's hard to make money out of it. So, the Savage Filmmaker channel is about gear, filmmaking gear. Yep. That's an excellent niche for YouTube advertising revenue. Yeah. It's perfect, right? So you've got Blackmagic competing against Sony to put their ad in front of your video, which means that every view of your video is worth more than a view of a video of our latest wank joke on the Pigville channel.
Correct.
You know, so it's
a higher
more
CPM.
lucrative. I mean, artistically, it's less rewarding, but it is financially more, you know, lucrative. And so yeah, that's how that all works.
So anyway, we should probably wrap this up.
All right.
I'm going to piss again.
All right.
Look, he's checking out. He's had enough.
All right. KFMZ's
Keep
like,
them
sorry,
saying,
guys, gotta go.
guys, I gotta go.
Yeah.
The lights are out.
It is a
gotta
long
go.
one. It is a long one. All right. We've had a good time. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Guy and Harley podcast. Make sure you hit thumbs up wherever you are. Please give us a review if you're thinking about it. Go to patreon.com/Pigville if you'd like to support us. Facebook.com/Guy and Harley. That's where we post all of the relevant links. You can also support us on Patreon. That's a big one. Patreon.com/Pigville. If you give us $1 a month, we will we'll use that money to make more content for you. That's what it's there for. And that's really about it. Olderfilm.com. Go check out our latest feature film.
Yes. See you later, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Richard, on the live stream. Magnum size, he says. Well, appreciate that. So we're I'm going to the toilet.
Okay.
I'll see you later.
And I'm going to try and play the outro, and if it works, great. And if it doesn't, great.